This House believes that global peace requires empowering the United Nations over national sovereignty. What emotion! Wow. So get ready to be thrilled once again by our dearest participants from Malaysia and India. To start with, may we kindly observe a moment of prayer. Amen. May God answer our prayers. So, as the slogan in Gam-Ind, you either cook or be cooked. So tonight's the night. And to start with, Deputy, who are we inviting for the opening remarks?
Who else must we invite for the opening remarks? There's no other better speaker to open the remarks for us than the very well-known, should I go on with his name?
No. Can you tell us a little about the individual we'll be inviting for the opening remarks?
What is there to say? It's the entire government. Without even saying names, I'm pretty sure people already have a name in mind. The
Right.
person who stands there when everybody is in need, the one who leads us all, the person who represents us at the embassy level. He's not only an engineer, he's not only someone who does things in school, he's a poet, he's a writer, he's someone who is there for all of us. And not to talk of his academic way, you can talk about his kind-heartedness because in Gam in Pate or in the Gambia, everybody is called his younger brother or his uncle. I can see his favorite younger brother somewhere here. You have his uncles and aunts. It's a family for him.
Right. Just as said, tonight we are calling on a leader in Gam-Ind, the president, our able president of the Ninth Executive Council of the Association of Gambian Students in India, a leader par excellence, very humble, yet with a track record of excellence all through his academic journey, sorry. A jack of all trades to say, a poet, a singer, an actor, and many more. So, ladies and gentlemen, join me welcome His Excellency Mr. Sajay K. Jaju, President of the Ninth Executive Council, for the opening remarks.
Where do I even start? You guys have already made me so emotional. I don't think I am worth all the hype and everything. Anyway, this is the power of GAM and this is the power of having such moderators. I believe such competitions or events cannot be successful without having successful, moderators. I mean, people of high caliber when it comes to orating skills and, of course, writing skills to some extent. So, as debaters would say, and I'll start is that, Mr. Speaker, distinguished guests, our distinguished guest of honor, who is Mr. Kemo Conte, the able our esteemed representatives of COXWA, which is the Confederation of Gambian Student Unions Abroad, and the Young Champion Debaters Association of the Gambia, which is YCDA, our poets, the debaters, the Gambian family in Malaysia and India, and an extension of the Gambian diaspora community. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. On behalf of the Association of Gambian Students in India, it is my honor, my profound honor, to welcome you all to the grand finale of the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship. Ladies and gentlemen, before I proceed, may we kindly observe a moment of silence in honor of the late Baharuna Bojang of Sukuta, who passed away on the 11th of February 2026. He was the beloved of Mr. Seni Bojang, the current Auditor General of Gambian, and of course to His Excellency Dauda Boya, who served as the Vice President of the 5th and of course the President of the 6th Executive Council, respectively, of Gambian. As an association, we extend our heartfelt condolences to the bereaved family during this difficult time and pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives his shortcomings, grants him Janatul Firdaus, overlooks his misdeeds, and gives the family the strength and patience to bear this great loss. Indeed, to Allah we belong, and to him is our return. Let's observe a moment of silence, please. Allahumma Amin. May all our prayers be accepted. From the 13th of December 2025, we set out a call to intellect, courage, and dialogue. And 8 nations in the diaspora answered to that call: Russia, Indonesia, Malaysia, India, Kenya, Turkey, the United States of America, and of course, Canada. What does it say about Gambian students in the diaspora when an initiative birthed in India resonates across continents? What does it say about our collective vision when 8 nations converged under one intellectual platform? Tonight in India, or this afternoon, or this morning in some parts of the world, we witness debate and we witness growth. India stands before us as the defending champions, experienced, composed, and proven. But across the aisle stands Malaysia, making their very first appearance. So I ask, will experience overshadow ambition? Will legacy intimidate a debutant? Or will Malaysia seize the moment and redefine the narrative of this championship? Will this be a night of continuity, or will it be a night of change? Our theme, education, ethics, and innovation as drivers for national transformation, reminds us that transformation begins with critical thinking. And tonight's motion, this House believes that global peace requires empowering the United Nations over national sovereignty. It obviously demands intellectual courage. So let's see what our debaters bring to the table for us. In a world of rising nationalism and tension, should sovereignty remain untouchable, or must nations concede certain powers or collective peace? Can global harmony exist without stronger global institutions? And if we empower the United Nations, who ensures its accountability? These are not easy questions, but they are necessary ones. This moment also marks something special. This is the second partnership between the young champion debaters of the Gambia and of course Gambian, a testament to trust, shared vision, and our commitment to nurturing a debating culture that transcends borders. Partnerships like this prove that when institutions unite, impact multiplies, and I am deeply grateful for this collaboration, which continues to elevate the standard of this championship and started way back by the 8th Executive Council in the first edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship. To our debaters, tonight might include trophies, but it is equally about conviction. It is about clarity. It is about demonstrating that Gambian youth in the diaspora can engage global issues with depth, dignity, and discipline. India, will you defend your crown? Malaysia, will your debut become destiny? Ladies and gentlemen, the stage is set, the motion is worthy, the intellect in this room is undeniable. With pride and anticipation, I, Sajo, A.K. Jaju, the president of the 9th Executive Council of the Association of Gambian Students in India, officially, I repeat, officially, for the 3rd time, officially declare the grand finale of the 2nd edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship open. Let the debate, or let the battle of ideas begin. Thank you all. Allah baraka, jarama, jeregen jef, jef konjal, emitakati. Allah baraka. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you not wowed? There he goes. That is your president for you, the president of the Association of Gambian Students in India. From the way he speaks, you can see from the reaction that he's not just a debater, he's someone who puts words to. He doesn't just write words, he makes them connect to the people he's speaking to. And you can see how he connected every single state or every single country that has participated in this event so far. Gambians are a people of togetherness. We can see from this initiative what we've done. This is not an achievement for Gambians, it's an achievement for Gambians alike. Mr. SG, what do you say about is it the speech, or what do we even call this from the president?
Well, His Excellency, I believe, just got us all wowed. And he posed a question. He said, India, would you defend your championship? And then to Malaysia, what did he ask them? Would they defy the norm and become the new winners? So tonight's a night for India and Malaysia. India, Malaysia. So let's see who would take victory. But Assistant Secretary, I believe we left something out in our opening remarks. Gam-Ind in partnership with the Young Champion Debaters Association. This year being the second time, I believe, we're partnering to host the biggest debate championship in the diaspora, which is the Gam-Ind Diaspora Debate Championship. But also, we have all Gambian students under one board. And who are they, sir?
Yeah, Gam-In is one body. And I would not like us to call it the Gam-In Debate Diaspora Championship. Let's say the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship. That way we do not identify it as something that belongs to Gam-In. This is something that belongs to the entire diaspora. But then Gam-In as an association also comes under something. It means there's a governing body in general. Now, who do we call these people is Coxwell, the Confederation of Gambian Students Union abroad. Now, what exactly do these people do? What exactly does this body do? What exactly does this set of people do? These are the people who not monitor, they're the people who guide, stand for, do everything for all of the students or all of the people who are from the Gambia, who are abroad, to come under one umbrella. Gambian answers to them, other associations in places, Malaysia, Morocco, they all answer to them. And not answer in a way of the dictatorship, answer rather in a way of togetherness, like the Gambian people are.
Right, right. The COXWA serves as a parent body for all Gambian student body associations abroad, bringing all Gambians under one umbrella. So we have them here in our midst, and the president, His Excellency, Mr. Momodu Esba, is here with us, who is a current student in India. We extend our sincerest greetings to you, Mr. Ba, or His Excellency, Momodu Esba, and the General COXWA board, and therefore invite you on board to give your remarks. And for this, who are we inviting, Deputy?
Now, before we talk about who we're inviting, we'll probably have to give a round of applause to the president, because he does not only represent Coxway here, he represents the entire gym body. Everybody knows him. When he stands, he doesn't stand as a president, he stands with that body of a man. So he's able to shoulder the responsibility of the Confederation. Now, in order to give their token of the same, we'd like to invite the IPRO of Coxwa, that is Ms. Maimuna Job. Ms. Maimuna Job, you're welcome.
Your mic is on mute, please.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you all. My name is Maimuna Jaju, a student in Northern Cyprus, a third-year student in Northern Cyprus, studying international relations. Respected organizers, fellow students, and my dear brothers and sisters, this is not just a debate final. It is a celebration of intellect, courage, and the power of Gambian student voice. As leaders representing Gambian students at home and abroad, we are incredibly proud, what we witnessed here, and what we witnessed here was more than arguments and rebuttals. We saw confidence, we saw research, we saw passion, and above all, we saw young Gambians who are ready to shape the future of our nations. Debate teaches us something very powerful, that disagreement is not division, it is growth. When ideas clash respectfully, truth becomes clearer and leadership becomes stronger. That is the kind of leadership our country needs. Our nation, the Gambia, may be very small in size, but nights like this remind us that our intellectual capacity is limitless. The future of our country does not only sit in the government offices, it sits in classrooms, in lecture halls, and on stages like this. To our finalists, whether you lift the trophy or not, you have already won. You have already shown discipline, preparation, and courage. That is what true champions are made of. To the organizers and the judges, thank you for investing in critical thinking and nurturing responsible voices. And to every Gambian student watching, let this inspire you. Speak, think, challenge ideas, build solutions. The destiny of our nation will be written by thinkers and the doers like you. May this final not be the end, but the beginning of greater conversations and great leadership. Thank you, and may God bless the Gambia and all the Gambian students everywhere abroad. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Madam. Those of us that have listened to that have probably picked up a thing or two, because we understand from her message that the key message here of the speaker is that disagreement is not division, it is growth. And that's a very, very essential point right there. So if ideas clash, they intend to build a better Gambia, not divide us. See, thank you. All we can say is thank you to the Confederation. Thank you very much. Now, this brings us to a very important session. What comes next on the agenda? What comes next on the agenda? It's a question that you might be asking yourself. We're not going to bore you. This is Gam-In. We're big. We're not boring you with sessions of talking. We'll give you something interesting. Now, the question is, what exactly do you expect? What do you expect? SG, what do you expect if you were in this crowd?
Deputy, you know, if you talk about Gam-Diaspora, you do not only hang on the brilliance, you know, like Gambians are truly blessed with very talented, very, very talented individuals. And in Gamin, whenever we call, even at Gamin level or diaspora, we always go the extra mile. So to keep this session a worthy one, can you guess what we have for you? We wouldn't want to just spit it out just like that. I saw in the comment sections like poetry or oratory session or poetry. You know, Gambians are smart, really. So, what do we have next? Ladies and gentlemen, in our midst tonight or day, depending on location, we have a great poet, as many of you guessed, who weaves words like threads, transmitting key messages to all who listen. So, Mr. Jiba, can you proceed from there to telling them who we are expecting to have on board?
You can't expect me to spill that information that easily. What do you expect exactly? First of all, what do we understand by poetry? Because Gambians are not people who are set to a particular tone. In Gambia or in Gambin or in Malaysia or whatever these associations are called, we have engineers who write poetry, we have people who do art, who do calculations. So people are not selecting a particular type, which gives us our differences. Now, whoever is coming has her own field and decided that writing out her mind to share with the rest of you is what she wants to do to impress you. I've already broken the ice because I said she. I didn't really intend to tell you who it was. So we have a very, very brilliant poet in our midst. And I would like us all to invite and show some reactions and show some love to Miss Mariama Chor. Miss Chor, you're welcome. I'm sorry, you're not audible even.
Mike.
Miss Mariama, Miss Mariama, it seems as if you're speaking, but we can't really get you from our end. Miss Chor, are you with us? Right. Well, as Miss Chor battles with as she battles with setting up her mic, as the assistant SG and the SG, let me leave you out of this. Let
Sorry, guys.
me give some to this.
Am I audible now?
Oh, you are back. I was about to give them a freestyle of poetry, but you can go ahead.
Am I audible now? Sorry.
Yes, you're audible.
Okay. Man dama waru. Dama wara joy. Wala dama wara re. How much lala nek. Dama wara haru. Wala lan. The Gambia today. A question to ask. What are we? Are we really the smiling cause of Africa? The country known to be the best. Now, we are not. The country is suffering. Hospitality is lacking. Unity, bolo, neka, benna, gisatuma, sila lañ nekk. The cultures are fading. Now the country is known as to be among the highest country in sex tourism. HIV becomes normal. Same genders normalizing to be together. Cultures fading. Tribalism becoming a music that everyone dance. The youths are becoming lazy day by day. Mange joy suma bir holbi. Na ndax ñi suma doom leen. Ay xameetuma leen. Mange joy ne. I miss the old them. I miss the smileys on their faces. I miss the unity. Bolo neka benda. I miss the culture. Ay waay man falla nek. Wax len ma ñaan naa len suma doomi réew mi. Bolo len neka benn. Ngeen liggéey. Ñu yóbbu réew mi si kanam. Waaye lii lele ak lele amun njëriñ. Dañ fàttaliku. Tey la suba la gannaaw suba la kenn xamut falla nakala ak nanda. Thank you.
Wow. That was that. How would I even say? Like, before we introduced her, we said we are calling on board a Gambian who weaves words in like threads rather, and I believe she delivered, and even I can say like she exceeded our expectations. That is Chor for you. So back to you, Mr. Jiba.
this poetry thing is starting to be something that I feel like I would actually get into it. As this lady here was speaking now, I took it upon myself to somehow just draft something because poetry seems to be moving. So from the information you've given us, we can tell that the Gambia where the river gently bends, soft like a story the sunset sends from Banjo's breeze to far upper lands. Hope is written in her people's hand. Small in size, fierce in pride, history walks by her side. On February's dawn in 65, a nation rose alive and alive. Today we stand and we debate not to divide our nation, but to build a better one. Madam Maria Mature, thank you for the inspiration.
Nyine kumun nadef. She can, so she did. Congratulations, Madam Chor. That was a very good one. So, we move on to our next speaker for tonight. Who do we have next, Mr. Jiba?
At this point, we would now like to have back to business. So it's introduction of what? Somebody that we invited, or somebody who is worthy enough to be considered a guest speaker for such a very memorable event.
So, in our midst, we have our partners here for the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship 2026. And tonight, as they have been joining with us tonight or today, please forgive me, my kind apologies. So, they've been joining with us from the start of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship to date. And these people are no other than the Young Champion Debaters Association. So, ladies and gentlemen, join me welcome Mariama Jallo from YCDA to give beautiful remarks on behalf of the YCDA members here present who are equally our adjudicators for the night. So, Madam Jallo, you're kindly welcomed on board.
Thank you so much, our able MPs, for that introduction. Distinguished guests, honorable and committed organizing team, fellow panelists, our young intellectual debaters, and our very supportive and consistent supporters, audience, I would like to greet you all. On behalf of the one, I extend our sincere appreciation for being part of this meaningful collaboration. It is truly an honor to be here in the midst of individuals and associations that are committed to shaping young minds for the future of our nation and the world at large. The YCDA, that is the Young Champions Debaters Association, is a youth-focused organization that promotes youth empowerment, youth leadership through meaningful and constructive engagements. The YCDA, through community engagement, educational initiatives such as this debate right here, and advocacy, equips young people with public speaking skills, with reasoning skills, decision-making skills, and builds confidence which they need to become responsible and responsible citizens and very active contributors to the societies and the world at large. Hence, debates like this are not just a competition, they are a platform for growth. They sharpen our minds, help us build skills such as communication skills, public speaking skills, critical thinking skills, and encourages research and teamwork as well. Hence, by being part of this association and by investing in such platforms, we are not only teaching young people to interact or to engage respectfully with diverse or different perspectives, but we are also giving them the space to think, to question, and to express themselves constructively. By doing this, we are building confidence in them and intelligence that we are also investing in national development. Hence, as a member of the Secretaries of the YCDA, on behalf of the YCDA, we would like to stay with you on this collaboration to invest, to commit, and to keep empowering youth in amplifying young voices. And also, we would like to thank the GAM-IN Association and the organizing team for making this year's championship possible. Because we know to make such an event happen, it takes sacrifice, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes commitment, it takes investment, it takes a lot of work to make this happen. But you guys still manage to do it. Hence, we are really grateful to be part of this collaboration, and we would like to thank you for the job well done that you've been doing. And we shall continue to collaborate, to commit, and to empower youths when it comes to public speaking, debates, and building a future for the nation, a better future for the Gambia and the world at large. On behalf of the panelists as well, I would like to thank you all for having us, and all the audience present here. Thank you for your commitment and your support to continue this debate throughout the years to come and empowering youth development. Thank you guys so much for having us.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. There you have it from the YCDA. We can all see that the YCDA in this event not only represents a partnership. In the Gambian context, these are your IEC. Very fair, very unbiased. These are the people set to give us the results and educate us on how the debate works in general. The YCDA representative gave very solid points, gave an absolute spark of a speech. Now, one thing that stood out very, very effectively for me was that statement that debates like this are not just competitions. They are platforms for growth. See, we have to take this. This is something that we should actually take very deeply. That these debates we are doing as Gambian students abroad are not platforms set to divide us, like I said in the beginning. The arguments, all the arguments we have here and there, or anything that happens during the debate, it's not something that intends to move us further away from each other. Instead, it is something that aims to connect us together and gives us solutions to specified problems. Thank you very much from the YCDA for pointing that out. Now, next on our agenda is, again, would I say poetry? No, probably drama, probably music. Maybe somebody wants to sing the national anthem, who knows? Again, it's a very thrilling experience, I can tell you. But all we can say is from the past poetry, so we can continue with, you are back. Okay, thank you. Mr. SG.
Yes, Mr. Jiba. You said Nehna wala Nehud. I believe everyone will agree with me that Nehna. So do you drag New Yorker? So ladies and gentlemen, another moment to get you thrilled and wowed like never before. And again, as you know, there's a saying that woman leads, something like that. So it seems like, guys, we are staying behind a little because we are about to call in another phenomenal young lady, I would say, from the Association of Gambian Students in India, by the name Miss Aminata Sao, who is a renowned poet in the Gam-Diaspora Association, who would be here again to bless our ears with her beautiful words crafted into a piece.
Yes, Miss Aminata, you're welcome.
Let my motherland be liberated. Years back, I was born and brought up in a country where I had people calling us the Gambia. I'm in the smiling coast of Africa, Gambia, the land of loyalty, honesty, but see today, loyalty, honesty of my beloved Gambia has been overcome by the power of corruption, manipulation, and injustice. Oh, let my motherland be liberated. Katung Gambia mumbele talati ula bro mutula esukeria nyepa kaboko. Konne ñu fexe bañ di hulo fight wala sax di rayante. Konne ñu dimbalante. Lu ko may musiba dina dal suñu kawte su boba dinañu sax be faw kon jamma sax dinañu rew. So let peace reign in our beloved motherland. Or sometimes I feel like walking with no shoe, being in a house with no roof, eating food with no taste, just to see my motherland be liberated. Then and only then, the talents of the youth shall never be underrated. The corrupt system shall be eradicated. Justice shall be implemented, and above all, my Gambia shall be liberated. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Gambia Sunureu. I guess I should also get into poetry. Let me start practicing if I would be a very good word weaver, Tamit. What do you say, Mr. Baji? Sorry, Jibarada.
If you should get into poetry. Well, I'll be engaging. We'll see how many people will get into poetry by the end of this, by the end of this debate session.
Yes, so thank you so much, Ms. Saho, for that beautiful piece about our homeland, our beautiful nation, the smiling coast of Africa, Gambia, reminding us about our beautiful nation that fatele ko finga joge lu ñu war la ñun doomi Adama. Thank you so much. And then now, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jiva, what are we having next?
Do I need to say?
Ladies and gentlemen, few days ago, under the Education Ministry of the Association of Gambian Students in India, an intellect who is here in our midst was introduced. A man of great academic track records, well known for excellence and good leadership. So distinguished guests, respected judges, participants, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor and privilege to introduce a scholar whose name has become synonymous with excellence, leadership, and diplomacy, Mr. Kemo Conte.
Mr. Kimo Conte. Mr. Conte is a lecturer in politics and international relations at the University of the Gambia and one of the institution's most outstanding academic achievers. So he graduated summa cum laude with an extraordinary CGPA of 3.998. I didn't even know that was a possible CGPA. The highest ever recorded in political science unit.
He holds a master's degree in international relations from China, Foreign Affairs University, Beijing, where his diplomatic brilliance earned him the Best Diplomacy Award at the Beijing International Model United Nations.
A multiple award-winning debater and a public speaker, Mr. Conte also made history as the only president of the University of the Gambian Students' Union elected through absolute majority, championing landmark initiatives that continue to benefit students nationwide.
And today, at the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship 2.0, we are privileged to learn from a leader whose journey reflects intellect, resilience, and transformative vision.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in warmly welcoming Mr. Kemo Konate.
Thank you so much. Let me make confirmation. Somebody will attend. Hello.
Yes, you're indeed audible.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the brilliant introduction. I was contemplating initially whether I was going to make it possible to attend this very important seminar, debate final competition. But actually, when the invitation came, I actually had a discussion with the president, Mr. Sajo. You know, Sajo always claimed that he's the father and I'm the son, which I always disagree with. But precisely what actually served as the main trigger why I actually opted for this invitation, honor this invitation, is because from my understanding and from my perception, which I think probably will be undebated, even though it is a debate final, but Gam-India Student Association remain the best in terms of interstate or global initiative collaborations, as well as promotion of students-led activities. And that remain unchallenged, given the proactive nature of the association's effort and what you have been doing across the globe. And this is a clear testimony of what you've been doing. So I would want to say this at the onset. You may give that round of applause to yourself for the amazing work that you've been doing. Just to move further with the topic, because this I'm very much keen to actually listen to the debate. Today, speaking is something, or public speaking is something that wouldn't be very much entertained. I think we can keep it precise and go straight to the point as far as the topic is concerned. But let me also recognize the presence of the Young Champion Debaters Association. I think they are also doing tremendously well in the country and beyond. I must also recognize the competing countries that have taken part in this initiative. And I must also recognize the finalists, that is Malaysia and India. Great and interesting countries, by the way. All of them actually happen to be in Asia. I think that's quite amazing, which we could actually applaud them for that amazing accomplishment. But of course, let me talk a little bit on the importance of debate, because sometimes when we say debate, people always have the perception that it's about argument. And I'm a little bit amazed when I heard that from some of my colleagues, even at the university level, who think that debate is entirely and essentially a kind of a kid activity, something that is quite not important. I am always with the belief that the 21st century requires people with mental dexterity. And when I say mental dexterity, I mean mental fertility to contextualize issues, critically analyze them, take decisions that will not limit only your own prosperity, but of course will contribute to the massive development for the masses. And that is what debate actually does. It trains you to build this mental strength to be able to critically interrogate issues for not only your own good, but the good of the world. And I think having an international organization or student-based association that is leading this initiative warrants commendation. And straight to the topic. The topic is actually, I think I would say, is even self-explanatory for the fact that education, innovations, and ethics undoubtedly is the bedrock for national prosperity. And when we talk about education, many of you might have learned this quote from the former president of South Africa, Nelson Mandela, who breathed a powerful weapon you can use to change the world. So without education, essentially, meaning our world will be stagnated. And when we talk about education, basically what comes to our common understanding is that you must be sent to school. You must be in a formal setup to learn. No, education goes beyond that. It can be personal experiences, it can be personal training, it can be personal capacitization, and so forth. And through that accumulated form, you can actually impact the world at large. And if you looked at our education system, because it's quite important, and I'm glad that many of you who are in the international world, eventually, I'm not sure if that will happen, but some of you will have to return to contribute meaningfully to the development of our country. You could see the education system in the places where you are. And some of you who were primarily or secondarily schooled in our setting, you will see a massive distinction between where you are and our type. If you looked at our education system in the country, it reflects nothing but a colonialist model, which is entirely pegged within teaching people on only mere reading and writing, singing, and so forth, which only serve the British interest. Because in those days, if you're able to read and write, you will serve as a clergy to the British. You'll be able to be a colonialist clerk. You'll be able to gather some resources from the chiefs on behalf of the British. And until today, you check some of our textbooks, you will see passages or maybe stories that are completely devoid of our development. And maybe until today, some of our basic chemistry students are learning about John Dalton atomic theory. Until today, people will be learning about stories of Abu Leaf in the town of Mansa Konko. That entirely has conscripted our system because it did not, or it does not reflect the very essence of what our society needs. Because education has to be contextualized, must reflect your needs and your aspirations. You must really see that my education is definitely tailored. My curriculum is definitely tailored towards addressing my pressing, perennial, or compounding problems. If your education failed to do that, it is nothing but a mere decoration. I remember when I was the president of the university, and many of my colleague students are fond of quoting me by saying that universities across the world should be the lab that have the capacity to diagnose the social, political, economic, and cultural problems, provide solutions for the change of those societies. Now, at our society, our Gambian society, you will that our society precisely, what we're learning and precisely what is practiced in our societies is completely at par. So that actually sends the clear picture that our education system needs strong evolution, it needs to evolve, it needs to be updated, it needs to reset, it needs actually to be in the best format. Because if we actually learn in the best way, we'll be able to build our intellectual capital, we'll be able to cultivate civic responsibilities, we'll be able to encourage critical inquiry, it will be able to encourage develop problem-solving abilities. And that is what is at the heart of moving our nation to a level that we all desire. So, talking about ethics, because ethics are quite key. The Greeks philosophers, Plato and Aristotle will tell you clearly that human being is not human unless and until you attain moral uprightness. And that moral uprightness is within the confine of how ethical you are. Because when we are ethical enough, we teach these ethics at our basic educational institutions. Undoubtedly, we will not even be needing anti-corruption laws. We will not even be needing to sack certain people for certain abuse of office. Today, somebody claimed to be a PhD holder, somebody claimed to be maybe a scholar, and you tend to see his behavior. Somebody manning a very critical position within the governance sector, what he learned at the forefront of the classroom is not impacting the person's behavior in that office, and eventually the entire nation that are rapidly developing today, such as society. When President Xi Jinping came to power in 2012, he said he was going to clamp on both tigers and cockroaches. Tigers would mean people who are senior government officials, and of course, cockroaches are those that are at the middle cadre or the lower cadre. He came up with anti-corruption strategies to tap that. But essentially, I think the Gambian society is now riddled perennially into the very fabric of some of these corrupt activities. And we need to weed it out. Otherwise, our development will remain stagnated. And that is essentially going to shape nothing but a backward movement instead of forward movement. And to conclude with innovation, because I want to do this as quick as possible so that we can get to debate. Innovation is quite important because it is what triggers that critical thinking in you. Today, you look at some societies, one of the reasons they are moving at speeds unimaginable is because of their innovative capability. And that innovative capability can well be embraced if we actually make revisiting of our education system. We need to teach our people in how to think critically, not to cram and go to bed, not to bring an examination model that only reflects what you actually digested for you to regurgitate that so that you can put it on the paper in order to be awarded with an excellent. But rather, it should always trigger the very mental essentialities and the fertility of this child to be able to critically look at issues and respond to them. And that is what is going to build that innovative mind. You will see the formal university setting in many parts of the world are not even very much serious about this, including the Gambia. And you will see people who want to be innovative will even drop out. You know, we heard from people like Steve Jobs, who had to resign, who had to withdraw from the university in order to focus on his innovative idea. We actually hear from the likes of Mark Zuckerberg, who had to leave university in order to focus on innovation. So innovation is quite key. And now these are multi or trillion-dollar companies that are contributing massively to the global development. And we can have that. We have very talented people. Look at the civil engineers that are actually learning in the different universities, including your president himself. Look at some of these great minds. I was actually following the moderation, and I look at the kind of innovative moderating style with conformity with the tenet and the diplomatic etiquettes of moderation. That clearly shows that, well, our mindsets are evolving, and that evolution is what they need in order to be innovative and to be critical in our thinking. Because history teaches us that if we are stagnated in the past, obviously we will remain underdeveloped. And if we ignore history, we are going to suffer the consequences. A philosopher, Santayana, brilliantly said, only those who refuse to study history are condemned to repeat it. Thank you all.
Wow. 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 Mr. Kimo, I don't even know where I'm going to start from. First of all, what was it? The conformity of the moderators. The conformity of the moderators at Secretarial Department. Mr. Kimo, I don't know. It's as if I'm trying to mimic the way you speak. Is it mental dexterity, mental futility? I am amazed. I am amazed by the way you can connect words and pour out information at the same time. But one of the most standing out point for me was the part where you talked about how education goes beyond the four corners of the classroom. This point should be extremely highlighted. And then how the education system of the Gambia should actually be reformed in such a way that the education system there is not at this point right now, it is modeled to depend on digested information, which means all the information that was digested is just regurgitated back. And this is not entirely a measure of intelligence. So we should be more innovative as Gambians in our education system. That was an absolutely brilliant point. We thank you as the Association of Gambian Students in India. Not just us, but the diaspora in itself thanks you for the information you've given us right now. Now, I know most of you are in a haste for this to start. You're in a haste for the entire session to start. But then, Gambian were extra. It's not our fault. It's just by virtue of our human nature, we're extra. We like to do things in an extra manner. We've given you poetry and we've given you poetry again. Maybe we want to give you something else. So before the debate actually starts, I'm not going to introduce this one. This one is Faravara. We'll give you something. We'll call it a surprise. So whoever it is that is on this surprise list, just make sure you don't disappoint the people. You're welcome.
Gambia senyore nakobaka kenya hangundo Gambia sumare nakobaka kenya hangundo Mana Gambia senyore ula nakobaka kenya hangundo
On the one umbrella held by the Association of Gambian Students in India, dictated by the Young Champion Debaters Association of the Gambia, YCDA, Gambian Student Associations in the Diaspora, met.
From physical encounter during Independence and Student Week to the Interstate Debate Championship, and now the Gam-Diaspora. Yes, You heard me right. The Gam-Diaspora. Gam-In is bringing Gambians in the globe together.
Far away from the land or land that's located at the far west of Africa, we move to different zones to search for knowledge. But we as Gambians, the land of peace and unity, so we will always unite, whether physical or virtual.
Aha! Degen mo suma president bi. Muko, Sade, Hakilo Bulandi Bang, for 2024-2025 academic year. The eighth is the Council of Gam-In initiated. 6 nations answered. Saudi Arabia ye danku India hana bikan. Ghana wu nyemi Morocco winyu. Russia la fate kan. Kon Cyprus handa kawatare.
So,
This is not where it
this
started.
But it is where it expanded. 6 voices said, yes, we are far, but we belong. Today, 8 nations rise. Kabrin and Turkey ning Malaysia, Dolu Tata Kenya ning Indonesia, Nyanen Yujoge ko India, those in America, Sunni, and in Namur member Russia.
wow, Sajo. Nganema, Tamaleko India, Duga Canada, Joga USA, Fola Kenya, Dau Malaysia, Faf Dale Indonesia. Tokine, Desunganao, Faf Botale Rose here, all to the atmosphere, where words clash, brains challenged, and unity gained. So,
This is not where it started.
But it is where it expanded. Money, Marjane and Moses. A pure clash of words where brains meet to confuse the doubting Thomases, where people would say, again, proving that you weren't listening at all, proving that you weren't fit to represent your people in this house. In fact, this is the worst government bench I've seen. In fact, when God was granting people sense, the opposition leader was not present. On and on it goes. Kugana munwa ngane kila.
Do you know? I ask you, do you know when voices cross, thoughts flowing, the atmosphere becomes confused. Ideas and realities are tabled. Opinions don't matter anymore. This is what Gam-In does.
Water, Mani Majani. The legacy set by the Age Executive Council is not just more flags that, but deeper conviction. Mane, dega na infine. In this world, you either be wise or otherwise. Yo, ML Jeng, wahal magayine, sharper arguments yield stronger unity. So,
This is not where it started.
But it is where it expanded because nitai garabam. And if English would allow me, the human being is another human's remedy because niamoy holie jamalemu, niamoy holie kafolemu. Togetherness has strength.
since after the extension, debate has become our kora, and every speaker our halam. Nehna wala nehut, a string tuned by culture and plucked by courage.
Me, as my blood relative say, me, this is continuity. A living bridge between editions, between continents, between the Gambia we left and the Gambia we carry. So, when the final bell rings, money, when the final bell rings, win or lose, know this. Win or lose, we have already prevailed.
Very right, Majane. Look at it from infrastructure, education, trade, agriculture, communication, governance, and business to list it. Young, brilliant minds to lead the nation tomorrow are coming to fight for justice. So,
Let's talk about what Garden is about to unlock.
Moses and Marjane. o samareu na banko, my country, my pride, and one unshaken truth. We will do everything to see this country thrives.
Wow, Sergio. No matter how far we roam, the river still knows our names, like Jaju,
Jane,
Dobesin,
Sise,
Bari,
Jallo Jerry,
Bah,
Pedram,
Jabati Kalajula Sankoy,
Aiwai, Berete,
Baji Baseng,
Bitey,
Jeng Bela,
Jufwai,
Mendy,
Silver John,
Jonas Paul,
Suso, Sora,
Kuyate,
Fofana Kanyali,
Samba,
Njai,
Tanyan Daba,
Bao,
Sanyang Ba,
Sane Barama,
Mani Nyancho,
Jiba,
Go contact Dilam Yaludu,
Sonko Jilen,
Dabo, Dabo Jula,
Baroban Nasional,
Bojang Sankaranka,
Jame, Jame Jilanka,
Tam Babel,
Trawale,
Ture,
Kasama Jabi,
Tabali Hydra,
Saho,
and Sidi
Suare,
and Sidibe. Manam, no matter how long a log stays in the river, it can never, never ever, be a crocodile.
Namur, Alila Moyana. Akabe po madagag ang kalekon wala yun. Yun daw may ba ako niya yan. Mana ta kala yun bamboti. Abatla
So,
yun.
bari majane feñinata balajo ñollale aning na mobalu men be Gambia na sise mori ñolu aning Fati Haidara oto Moses afoe.
no matter how long a log stays in the river, Dumunan Neka, a crocodile. So, this is not where it started, but it is where it
But
expanded.
it is where it expanded.
The smiling coast of Africa. Yes. The smiling coast of the great land is called Africa. Not only by words, but by action in all ways. And we are the people of that great land called the smiling coast. It is miles away, hearts still entwined, making our mama land proud. To the God we are ever true.
Thank you all so very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Moses, Manima, and Sergio. Beautiful piece. I believe it was well digested by the members. And SG, at the beginning, you told us you wanted to get into poetry. So you didn't know it. You see, the thing I don't like about these Gambian students in India, you guys like to deceive people. You don't know anything about poetry. You're here talking about what Executive Council trends set Smiling Coast. Anyways, well done, well done, well done. I believe we've taken enough time for poetry and enticing the crowd. And now we would like to move on to the main event, actually. So we would like to have the commencement of the debate. SG, could you lead us with that?
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, now the time you all have been waiting for has finally arrived. And now we would like to invite the Young Championship Debaters Association, the the YCDA, Young Champions Debaters Association, to take their time, to take their moment. And now, let us all sit back, relax, and enjoy the moment as our adjudicators take up from here.
Hi, good afternoon from Brussels. Before I continue with my, how would I call, pronouncement of ground rules, can I confirm my audibility? Okay, thank you so much. I think before I also continue with setting the ground rules, let me just recognize the presence of Kemo Conte. He has been a very important figure in our debating arena. I met him a couple of times around the corridors of the Faculty of Law, Carnifing, Debate Gambia. I think we also met during the Banjul Open Debate National Championship. I think he coached a lot of people. And if I start counting them here, we are going to spend the entire night here before we start the debate. Just to affirm that he is capable, he is a true son of the debate championships or associations. And of course, he has continued to shape a very strong paradigm in the debating community. Thank you for coming. I think he will be light throughout this episode. Okay, now I would like to welcome the debaters, starting from the government bench. We welcome the Prime Minister and the Deputy. As I always say, we have imaginary seats. Let them take their seat for sure. And the opposition, please, you are also welcome to the debating room. Before I also talk about the ground rules, I would like to tell you that my team members are here with me. We are going to start the debate proper. Okay, Mohammed is here, is our chief adjudicator. We have Mariama, who is going to keep our time and record maybe important counters that we would rely on in order to pronounce the result based on facts and evidence when determining what you call the winner of tonight's debate. But before I also look at a very critical moment or very critical issues of this debate, I would like to ask a few questions. I think these questions were asked by Thomas Sankara, I think during the Burkina Faso revolution. During his political orientation speech, he said, he asked these questions: where are we coming from, and where are we heading to? He said, these are the questions of the day that demand what we call clear, resolute, and unequivocal answers in order to march here boldly enough with resounding victory. The same thing applies to our episode tonight. We always try to ask where we come from and where are we heading to. But I believe that it is not a banterbar whereby we are trying to have organized crimes and the likes, but a banterbar where we come together and share ideas, join national and international conversations that will shape the future of our people. When we do that, we will march here with resounding victory. And moving forward, I would like to remind the debaters themselves, at some point, there are critical issues we consider. And we want to clarify that this debate It is a debate that we believe have brought about 75 people together to listen to you people. That's mean the debaters. But in doing so, the critical part of this debate, I think, is examined by the judges. In doing so, we want a lot of issues to be considered, but a few issues to be left behind. Now, point to discourse. You are all familiar with the adjudicating scheme. Just to summarize everything, or to at least fast track my deliberation before we begin the debate, I would like to remind you a few key rules. Number one, we have about 4 speakers, and each is given 7 minutes. And the 7 minute has some segments that we need to consider. But to make that work very easy for Mariam, I will just skip that. I go straight to what we call definitions. We have been struggling to capture some definitions. At some point, any point you mention that would support whether it is dependent or independent premise, we need to evaluate those things, whether they have substance in your debate. When you talk about definitions also, let's try by all means to make them brief so that we will be able to record them to see whether or where the weight lies. It's important. Let us keep our definitions very simple. Clarity and spacing when you are deliberating, giving your arguments, please try by all means. I know 7 minutes will not be sufficient for some people. Sometimes the 7 minutes would be too much, but it depends on your preparation. Now, the 7 minutes have to be managed in a way that you can give us at least 3 points. And these 3 points, you have to substantiate them, meaning you have to manage your time very well. Do not rush too quickly to cover 2 or 3 points within 1 minute. Also, do not try by all means to deliberate or to talk about one point in a way that it consumes your time. So please have the clarity and space, or spacing rather, at the back of your mind at the time of deliberation. And POI, please, whenever you ask for a POI, point of information, listen to the one who is supposed to accept or reject it. That would be the speaker, your opponent at some point. If you are not interested to take a POI, please just say rejected, at least for smooth transition or for smooth debate. If you believe that the one asking the POI is not able to formulate a question within 15 seconds, please, you can just ask the individual to sit down and you continue. POI or question should be asked or should be formulated and be asked within 15 seconds. If that's not respected, please move forward. And let us try by all means to be respectful at the time we rejecting or accepting POI. For sure, since we have started this debate, I think people have been so much concerned about the choice of words. That's why a lot of people try by all means to frame their questions in a way that they do not undermine the speaker's credibility. In other words, they do not attack the speakers or the opponent's personality. And it is called ad hominem fallacy. We do not experience that so far, and please try by all means to maintain that track. Now, when we talk about the POI, if you are rejected, do not be coming back and forth or all the time asking for POI again. This is to ensure that we have a very smooth debate and people, especially the adjudicators, would sit down and document important points without disruption. The other thing I have to say would be, how would I call it? The audience. Please, you have been so much you have been so much, how would I call, respectful. I love the atmosphere, because in the first place, I was trying to say that everyone should at least, at most, try by all means to make sure that this debating platform is safe for everyone to come and debate. And you have been demonstrating that welcoming muscle. Thank you so much for doing that. Please continue. It is our duty to protect each and every debater. So please continue with that. Now, I would like to ask my people, or my, how would I call, yes, my panel, if they would have anything to say before we commence the debate. I'm sorry that I'm speaking so much. I'm just moving around. I'm not feeling well for sure, but I'm trying to cope with the weather and the condition that I have seen right now, or that I'm feeling as we speak. However, will not impact anything from our work.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mr. Diallo, for taking us through the marking scheme. So in my capacity as a time speaker, I would just like to remind the House and all the speakers that each debater has 7 minutes with protected time at the beginning and at the end. That is your first minutes and your last minute. These are your protected time. And the minutes in between, you have the right to take to accept, to receive a POI, and to answer questions, clarify questions from your fellow debaters. It is very important to manage your time, because you must structure your arguments clearly, and then you must give your rebuttals and extensions, and then you must be able to summarize strongly. So if you have a very poor time management, then you won't be able to do all of these things. So with that cleared, if the House is set, we can start the debate.
All right. Thank you so much, Mariam, for that reminder. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, today's debate invite us what we call to grapple with one of the most important questions facing the world today. Now, when we look at it, the question emerges: can global peace truly be achieved without empowering the United Nations over national sovereignty? This motion challenges us to think about what we call the balance between the rights of individual states and the responsibilities of the international community. It asks us to consider whether peace is a product of cooperation and centralized authority, or whether it is best preserved through the independent states acting in their own interest. As judges, we will be reasoning carefully to, number one, look at how teams debate or define their terms and frame their arguments. Two, the evidence and examples they bring to the table as we speak, the logic and mechanisms behind their claims, and how each team engages with and responds to the arguments of their opponents. I encourage all speakers not to only persuade us, but also to educate and class constructively, so that by the end of this debate, we can all live with a deeper understanding of what global peace requires. With that, the motion before us is: this House believes that global peace requires empowering the United Nations over national sovereignty. Opponent government, you have the floor. Okay, that is my job. The Indian side, opening government. Sorry, please give me some seconds. Prime Minister. Okay, Maimuna, if you are ready to start your debate, or when you are ready to start your debate, please, the floor is yours. And give at least 3 seconds so that our honorable or accurate timekeeper will be able to record the debate when it starts and when it ends. Are you ready to proceed, Maimuna Job?
I'm
Okay, but Maimuna, I'm struggling to hear, I'm struggling to get you clearly. Would you mind to regulate maybe your microphone, or if there is network problem around there, find a very good spot so that you do not interfere with or the way we capture your arguments and the likes. Can you speak again? Let me hear whether that's been solved or not. Okay, it appears that I cannot hear you properly. Is that a problem coming from my side or generally? Okay, Maimuna, I cannot hear you. I cannot hear you clearly. Would you mind to find maybe another spot?
I found the nobody. What was that? I found the nobody. Okay.
Maimuna, I cannot hear you. Um, uh, sorry, the Indian team, just be aware that I cannot hear anything from your prime minister. If she has started her speech, please advise us to stop.
Yes, I believe he's disconnected, but probably give her a minute or two. Thank you.
Okay.
I hope I'm audible now.
Yeah, you're audible. You're audible.
Okay.
Okay, Maimuna. Maimuna.
I'm sorry about that. I don't know why. I guess right.
Maimuna, no. I think the problem is still with us.
You're hearing.
No, no, no. Okay. Is it Maimuna, the Honorable Prime Minister? I'll advise you if you are with a friend. Okay. Modu, please.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum. Honorable Agitator, can you please give like 3 minutes, let her settle the internet, please? Because I just realized now she's in a hurry, so that's why, still the connection is not working. Please give us 3 minutes, let's try and settle it and come back to it, actually.
Okay. That's
Okay,
fine.
thank you. All right, thank you.
Abdurrahman, do you want to say something?
Yes, Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello?
Yes.
The Honorable Prime Minister's laptop is having a problem, so I'm currently going to his house to give him one of my best laptops to use at work. So, yeah, please bear with us.
Okay. That's fine. Sorry, Yankee, do you want to say something?
Basiru, I think India, they are already afraid. So it's better you just give Malaysia the victory. India, they are already afraid.
Okay. Do not worry. Don't worry. Let's just give them maybe a couple of minutes and see whether. No worries. Okay. Is it Sankumba?
Yes, Sankumba.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And then I think this will be out of equation, and then you give us victory, because this is time. Time is debate. If the time wasted, we've already won.
Okay, don't worry. I think the Malaysian side is afraid for sure. They are trying to score maybe cheap points from
This is
this.
like a fair game. Game is 90 minutes. 90 minutes. Finish.
Okay. Do not worry. Let us know. Let us also understand the at least the problems that come with technology. Do not worry. They will be here with us soon. Okay. Thank you. Fatty, your hand is up. It's like Modi is fasting. Okay, I would like to invite Mohammed to say one or two things, maybe before the debate starts. If I have missed anything along the way, he's going to pick it. And that is important because today I'm definitely lost. I'm kind of ill. However, I will do my best. But Mohammed, if you have anything to say, please come on board. He's here with me. He's part of us. He's our chief adjudicator. Okay, the four corners of India will destroy your judges. Okay, so.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Basiru, for the invitation. And I would have really wanted to show face, but then the fast or the fasting has really taken its toll on me. So, but yeah, nonetheless. All right, good afternoon, everybody. From the Gambia, it's 3 p.m. here, or between 3 and 4. So I wouldn't necessarily have a lot to say because Basiru has given the ground rules, and then I think we've taken a lot of time for the debate. So the representative of India is indicating that I think she is now able to make her submissions. And all I want to urge the debaters to do is to ensure that they maintain or they try to ensure that while they're debating, they stay within the confines of the rules that have been given, because we've realized that out of all the debates we've had, sometimes a debate is not won mostly by individuals who are only eloquent. Sometimes it's also important to be able to stay within the rules that are given. Yeah, so it's all right. I would have wanted to say a lot, but since we're behind time, can I confirm if the representative of India, that should be Maimuna Job, whether you're able to get started, please. You can just switch on your camera and indicate by maybe through your hand or anything, indicate that you're able to resume, and then we can just let you have the floor, and then you can go on.
Yeah, I just want to confirm if I'm audible now. Am I audible?
Yeah.
From my end, I am able to hear you. But just a bit. Modu Lewis, you want to say something?
Yeah, what I wanted to say is to the educators, can you please, before they start the debate, confirm with all the participants? Let them try their video and mics before we start. Because sometimes, you can be watching the debate and your internet is fine, but immediately you want to speak or something, the connection will not be good.
Thank you. That's a good intervention. Please, can we confirm with Memona, your partner is around? Is the Deputy Prime Minister on the call, please?
Yeah, am I audible?
Thank you. And both your mic and video, everything is intact?
Am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you from my end. I'm able to hear you. Thank you. So participants from Malaysia?
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you, Mr. Barry.
Yeah, hello.
I can hear you. How about you? Okay. Mr. Sonko, it appears that there is a lot of background noise.
Yeah, am I audible?
Your voice, I don't know, there's an echo. Speak again, say something.
The echo is because of Hassan. Hassan, can you please mute your mic, please? Hassan. Okay, thank you.
Say something.
All right, so, yeah, am I audible now?
Yes, yes, you are. You are.
All right, thank you, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So, Mr. Jallo has done a good job. He has detailed all the rules that we're going to, that the debate is expected to, that are expected to govern the debate. And then please, I'm imploring on all the participants to ensure that they stay within the rules. Maimuna, I'll invite you shortly. I just want to reiterate the importance of ensuring that you stay within the rules. It's not a debate that we're having in person. It's online, and usually if we don't try to ensure that we debate within the rules that are given, it brings about confusion. And for the most part, everybody who is on this call could have been somewhere. All right. So the fact that they've decided to be on the call is an indication that they really not only want to be here, but also they want to know exactly what each of you would have to say about the motion today. So please ensure that the rules are observed. Ensure that anytime, and again, importantly, POI, please, if you raise a POI once and the debater appears not to be interested in accepting it, just ensure that you don't get to ask POI now and again. You can ask, but then give a very healthy interval before you get to ask again. Yeah, so most of these things, I know we've said them over and over and over, but there is no harm in trying to remind you to ensure that you leave your debate by them. So if the representative of India is set, that should be the Prime Minister for today's debate. Please, the floor is all yours, and you can get started right away. Thank you.
May I confirm my audibility and visibility, please?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Honorable Speaker, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as the Prime Minister of this Honorable House, allow me to give the structure of my debate. I will start by tabling the motion before the House, define the key terms found in the motion, set the scope for this debate, give 3 irrefutable arguments, pre-reviewed opposition points, accept 1 POI, summarize, after which I shall conclude. Now to tabling the motion before the House. This the global peace requires empowering the United Nations over national sovereignty. Honorable Speaker, to ensure we debate clear terms, I will now move to defining the key terms found in the motion. First, we have global peace. According to the United Nations, peace is not merely the absence of war, but the presence of security, justice, and international cooperation. Source, UN Charter 1994. Second, we have empowering the United Nations. Giving the UN the actual legal authority to make decisions that are mandatory for all countries, such as the power to bypass a single country's veto to stop a war or enforce climate laws, as defined in Chapter 7 of the UN Charter. National sovereignty, according to Article 2, Sub-Article 1 of the UN Charter, refers to the principle that states have the supreme authority within their territory and are legally equal. Honorable Speaker, before presenting our case, let me clearly define our stance as we set the time frame of this debate. By empowering the United Nations, we mean strengthening enforcement mechanisms, reforming veto paralysis, and granting the UN binding authority to act decisively in cases of war, genocide, crimes against humanity, and nuclear threats. We are not abolishing sovereignty. Sovereignty remains the general rule. However, it cannot be absolute when it is used to threaten global peace or shield mass violence. For the purpose of this debate, we are operating within a 10 to 15 years reform window, beginning from the immediate present. We are debating realistic institutional reforms that can be negotiated, ratified, and implemented within that period, not hypothetical global government structures or utopian world orders. The impact we elevate must be reasonably foreseeable within the reform horizon. With that being said, I'll now move to my co-argument, Honorable Speaker. My first point, which is preventing aggression and wars. Honorable judges, ladies and gentlemen, we do not need hypothetical examples to understand that interstate aggressions to understand what interstate aggression is. We are already witnessing it unfold before our own eyes. According to the United Nations Human Rights Office 2023, over 10,000 civilians have been confirmed killed in Russia-Ukraine war, And the UNHCR reports more than 6 million refugees displaced. Yet, despite the devastation, the Security Council was paralyzed because aggressor states exercised its veto powers. So I ask, honorable judges, how can a system claim to safeguard peace if it can be frozen at the very moment action is required? What signal does that send to any state contemplating aggression tomorrow? Honorable Speaker, peace is not maintained through speeches or symbolic condemnations. It is maintained through credible, enforceable consequences. And when sovereignty blocks accountability, empowering the United Nations is not extreme. It is essential for preserving global stability. That brings me to my second point, which is stopping genocide and human rights atrocities. Honorable Chair, distinguished judges, let us confront an uncomfortable truth. According to the UN Independent Inquiry in 1999, the world failed Rwanda. Come up with your POI.
Yes, thank you so very much. You just mentioned that the role of this UN is to preserve peace. My understanding is that the preservation of peace does not mean you have to empower UN above all national sovereignty. I mean, UN derives its authority from sovereign states. So how can it be legally empowered above this sovereign state, above the source of its own authority? How can you do that?
My friend, that is not what we are talking about here. We are what we are doing exactly is proposing that. Hello, hold on. You asked a POI. Can I answer? We are performing. That is why we are proposing reforming veto abuses, empowerment with informed protects smaller states from powerful aggression. It doesn't empower domination, if that is what you're trying to imply. Honorable Speaker, with that being said, like I was saying, on my second point, I said, according to the UN Independent Inquiry in 1999, the world failed Rwanda. In just 100 days in 1994, approximately 800,000 people were killed while the UN peacekeepers lacked the mandate to intervene decisively. So, Honorable Speaker, what is sovereignty word when it protects perpetrators instead of people? This is why in 2005, world leaders unanimously adopted the responsibility to protect doctrine, recognizing that when a state fails to prevent genocide or crimes against humanity, the international community must act. Even international law now accepts that sovereignty is not absolute. Honorable judges, when sovereignty becomes a shield for mass atrocities, the United Nations must have the authority to intervene, because without that authority, never again is just a slogan. I'm only going to ask one POI, so please don't disturb me. Now I move to my third point, Honorable Speaker, which is very simple and straightforward. Global problems require global authority. Honorable Chair, according to Stockholm International Peace Research Institute in 2023, 12,512 nuclear warheads still exist, and nuclear states are modernizing them as tension rises. So how secure is a world where one miscalculation between sovereign powers can change human history overnight? Are we willing to leave humanity's survival to trust alone, or to the hope that every leader will always choose restraint? Honorable Speaker, when nuclear control remains purely national, global security becomes a gamble. And when the stakes are this high, can peace depend on the optional cooperation? Honorable judges, if threats are global, shouldn't the response be global as well? Must we not empower the United Nations? Or are we simply going to wait and hope that the next crisis is not the last? That brings me to my pre-rebuttal. The opposition will likely argue that the UN is biased and that powerful countries are going to dominate. But my response to that is, first of all, flaws in the UN are arguments for reform and empowerment, not abandonment. Secondly, smaller states are often the biggest victims of aggression. They benefit most from stronger institutional protection. In summary of my debate, Honorable Speaker, I came before this House, tabled the motion as I should, define the key terms found in the motion, backed by a reliable source, set a perimeter for this debate, gave 3 substantial points, which were 1, preventing aggression and wars, 2, stopping genocide and human rights atrocities, and 3, global problems require global authority. I then pre-rebutted opposition points. I accepted 1 POI, which was not even making sense to me. And then I hereby conclude, Honorable judges, sovereignty should empower nations to govern responsibly, not enable them to destabilize the world. Global peace cannot depend on goodwill alone. It requires collective authority, enforceable laws, and international strength. Therefore, this House must believe that global peace requires empowering the United Nations over absolute national sovereignty. Thank you for your attention.
Okay. Thank you so much, Honorable Prime Minister, for that wonderful deliberation. Now we are set to hear from the opposition leader. So the opposition leader, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you so much. May I start now, please?
Okay, just a minute. Sorry, second, please. Opposition. Okay, I think you can. All right, you can start your deliberation, please.
Thank you so very much. Honorable Chair, respected judges, members of the House, my name is Usman Berry, and I rise as opponent opposition to firmly reject the motion today which has been presented before the House, which says that this House believes that global peace requires empowering the United Nations above national sovereignty. Honorable Chair, we strongly oppose this motion. Before I proceed, I will first of all structure my argument clearly before this House. First, I will define the key terms of the motion to establish the framework of this debate. Second, I will advance 4 substantive arguments explaining why empowering the United Nations over national sovereignty is neither legally sound nor practically effective for achieving global peace. Third, I will prepare to take one POI if necessary should the government bench wish to challenge our position. And fourth, I will rebut the points of the Prime Minister. And finally, I will summarize and conclude my co-argument and by reaffirming the motion presented before this Honorable Chair. To rebut the motions, the claims of the Prime Minister, Honorable Chair, she cited that international law says sovereignty is absolute, but she fails to mention which law says that sovereignty is absolute. She fails to mention this. So this is, I will consider it as vague and ambiguous. So I will not buttress more on that. Second, she cited that genocide is genocide from other countries, but she also fails to understand that peace is maintained by the United Nations not through intervention, but rather through cooperation. And this is what every international bodies looks after. Honorable Chair, to proceed. Let me first define the key terms of this motion. By global peace, according to Article 2 of the United Nations Charter, global peace refers to stability among states based on sovereignty, sovereign equality, and non-intervention. According to the Charter of the United Nations 1945, the United Nations is an international organization established to maintain international peace and security, develop friendly relations among states, and promote cooperation in solving global problems. According to the Oxford Dictionary, empowerment refers to the process of becoming stronger and more confident, especially in controlling one's life and claiming one's right. According to Article 2.1 of the United Nations Charter, national sovereignty refers to the supreme authority of a state over its own territory and population, free from external interference. And by empowering national UN over national sovereignty, we are trying to undermine the principle of sovereignty. Honorable Chair, our position is clear. Global peace does not require weakening sovereignty. Rather, sovereignty is the legal and political foundation upon which international peace is built. In opposition to this motion, Honorable Chair, I will advance 4 important points which will educate the government bank today. First, sovereignty is the constitutional foundation of the UN system. Second, empowering the UN entrenches inequality within the Security Council. Third, interventions justified on the global authority have destabilized peace. And fourth, peace depends on cooperation among sovereign states, not supranational coercion. To go in details, honorable judges, my first point of contention is that sovereignty is the legal foundation of the United Nations. Honorable Chair, the government bench asks us to empower the UN above national sovereignty. This directly contradicts the UN's own constitutional framework. Article 2.1 of the UN Charter establishes sovereign equality, while Article 2.7 prohibits intervention in matters essentially within domestic jurisdiction. These provisions confirm that the UN was created by sovereign states and operates through their consent. If sovereignty is subordinated to the UN, then the legal legitimacy of the organization collapses because it derives its authority from member states. Even peacekeeping missions require POI. When states withdraw cooperation, UN operations become ineffective. POI rejected. Listen and learn from me. The government bank is therefore proposing a restructuring of international law that contradicts the very charter that governs the UN. Peace cannot be built by undermining the legal principle that sustains the international system. POI accepted. I may educate you, please. Come on.
All right. Okay, thank you. So, wait. You said, does international law not already, limit sovereignty through bans on genocide and aggression? So what do you mean by sovereignty is the foundation of international law?
Sovereignty is a principle which says that every state has the right, every state has the capacity to manage its own internal affairs and then free from external control. So by empowering UN above sovereignty, you are trying to say that UN has every right to have a say in the internal affairs of every country. That answers your question. I'm moving to my second point, Honorable Chair. My second point is that the UN's current ineffectiveness shows why empowering it above sovereignty is dangerous. Honorable Chair, if the United Nations cannot effectively stop wars under the current sovereignty-based system, what evidence suggests it will succeed if granted authority above sovereign state? The Prime Minister fails to present this. Take the ongoing tensions involving Iran, the United States and Israel, all member states of the United Nations. Yet, despite escalating military confrontation, diplomatic breakdowns, and appeals to the Security Council, the UN has not been able to decisively halt hostility. Why? Because powerful states act according to national interests, and the UN lacks independent enforcement capacity. The Security Council is often paralyzed by veto power, resolutions stalled, statements are issued, appeals are made, but fall, rejected land. Now consider danger of empowering the UN above sovereignty. Either powerful states will simply ignore, which will weaken the institution itself, or the UN will attempt coercive enforcement, risking direct confrontation with major powers. Honorable Chair, both outcomes threaten instability, not peace. If the UN cannot compel compliance now, giving it greater authority does not magically create enforcement strength. It merely centralizes power without guaranteeing obedience. Global peace is not preserved by concentrating authority in an institution that already struggles to manage conflicts among its own members. It is preserved through responsible sovereignty and negotiated cooperation. Rejected. Land from me, please. My fourth point of contention, honorable judges, empowering the UN above sovereignty creates a democratic deficit. Honorable Chair, state sovereignty ensures governments remain accountable to their citizens. Leaders derive legitimacy from constitutional processes, elections, and domestic political systems. When authority is transferred above the sovereign state, this chain of accountability weakens. The United Nations is not a global democracy. Its officials are not directly elected by the world's population. I hope the Prime Minister knows this too. Yet, decisions affecting national security, economic policy, and military action may have impact millions. Article 21 of the International Convention on Civil Rights guarantees that the right of citizens to participate in governance, transferring authority to supranational body without citizen input, without violating the principle. Honorable Chair, to conclude and summarize my points, let us be very clear. The opposition does not argue that the United Nations is useless. The United Nations plays an essential role in diplomacy, humanitarian coordination, peacekeeping, and multilateral dialogue. It is a necessary pillar of the international cooperation. However, the motion before this House does not propose the cooperation. It proposes empowering the UN over national sovereignty, elevating it above the very states that created it. Honorable Chair, global peace is sustained not by replacing sovereign states with supranational dominance, but by ensuring that sovereign equals cooperate responsibly within rules-based system. The motion does not seek balanced reform; it seeks hierarchical authority, and that goes beyond what international law, institutional design, and democratic legitimacy safely sustain. For this reason, Honorable Chair, this motion must be rejected. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Opposition Leader, for that submission. So without wasting time, if the Deputy Prime Minister is set, the floor is all yours, Mr. Byron.
Am I audible and visible, please?
Yes, you are. You are. Please, before you get started, for the subsequent speakers, yourself and the Deputy Opposition Leader, I'll implore on you to pay attention to Mariama. She is the one keeping the time, and usually when she raises her hand, it's to indicate to you that your time has either run out or about to. Please.
Okay, may I start? Can I start?
Yes, please. You can go ahead. You can go ahead, please.
Honorable adjudicators, members of this august House, and our esteemed opponents, I rise as the Deputy Prime Minister to strongly support this motion. But before I proceed, I would like to outline the structure of my debate. I will first start by debunking the baseless points made from this opposition bench. I will strengthen my Prime Minister's points. I will present my co-arguments. I will accept just one POI. I will summarize as I will then move on to conclude. Honorable adjudicators, they claim that this motion undermines democracy. See, war and genocide discredit democracy far more than intervention ever could. You cannot vote freely in the war zone. Can you? You cannot. International action restores peace, so democratic system can survive. Protecting human rights, strengthening democracy. See, peace is the foundation upon which democratic institutions stand. Moving on to their next point, they also claim that major powers will dominate decision. See, Our model, as mentioned by my Prime Minister, requires broad international support, not just powerful nations deciding alone. Multilateral voting reduces dominance. It is safer to have collective decision than unilateral inversion. Transparency is in multilateral processes makes domination harder to sustain. Shared power reduces abuse, and then isolated power fuels it. Moving on to their next point. They mentioned that sovereignty is the foundation of international law. See, sovereignty has never been absolute. International law already bans aggression and genocide. The UN Charter limits when force can be used. Sovereignty exists alongside responsibility. Modern international law is built on both rights and duties. A modern legitimacy depends on protecting its people, not harming them. Moving on to strengthen my Prime Minister's point. Hafez's point was on preventing aggression and war. Honorable adjudicators, interstate aggression is not a theoretical risk. It is a measurable global cost. Research on United Nations peacekeeping shows that missions reduce the risk of renewed conflict by nearly 50%. So this demonstrates that credibility and credible enforcement deters escalation. Look, when enforcement is credible, aggressors think twice. When consequences are weak, war becomes more likely. Moving on to her next point. Second point was stopping genocide and human rights atrocities. See, honorable members, mass atrocities are not rare accidents. They are recurring failures of delayed intervention. According to the United Nations Office on Genocide Prevention and the Responsibility to Protect, mass atrocity crime have affected 30 plus countries since 2000, causing millions of deaths and delays. See, why this matters is simple. When sovereignty is treated as absolute, accountability is postponed and civilians suffer first. Moving on to her last point, global problems requires global authority. Honorable adjudicators, modern crises do not recognize borders. The WHO reported that COVID-19 pandemic caused over 6 million reported deaths globally and triggered trillions of dollars in economic losses. No single state, I repeat, no single state solved it independently. These statistics reveal a simple truth. Global threats cannot be managed by isolated sovereignty. Moving on to my core arguments. My first point is refugee crisis proof instability is never contained. Honorable judges, the first and strongest proof that sovereignty cannot be absolute is the global refugee crisis. According to the UNHCR Global Trends Report in 2023, there were over 100 million forcibly displaced people worldwide, the highest number ever recorded. Of these, over 40 million are refugees who have crossed international borders. Now, here is what matters. Most conflicts begin as internal matters, but they never remain internal. When civil wars erupts in one state, neighboring countries absorb refugee flows. Healthcare systems are overwhelmed. Housing prices increases. Employment markets tightens, like what happened to countries neighboring Palestine, Ukraine, and Syria. Judges, this demonstrates a simple reality. Conflict is never geographically contained. A sovereign war becomes a regional burden. A regional burden becomes a global challenge. As the proverb wisely states, when a house next door is burning, your own roof is not safe. If we prevent mass violence early through empowered enforcement, we reduce displacement at its source. Let's hear your POI.
All right. By definition of a state, sovereign, we have four key features of a state: population, territory, government, and sovereignty. By removing sovereignty, then we are talking about state. But instead of cooperation, why would you choose empowerment over cooperation? I believe the best solution is to choose cooperation rather than using empowerment.
See, this debate is talking about global peace. How do you expect to achieve global peace with just, national sovereignty? Please understand the topic before you ask Robert's questions. Moving on to my second point. Please mute your mic now. Moving on to my second point. Recurring conflict shows impunity. Honorable members, the second argument addresses a deeper structural issue, which is reoccurrence. According to Uppsala Conflict Data Program, nearly 50% of civil wars since 1946 are relapses of previous conflicts. This statistic alone should concern this house. Why those conflicts return is simple, because root causes, including impunity, remain unaddressed. When leaders who wage aggression or commit mass abuses a cycle of permissiveness where the absence of accountability lowers the cost of repeating violence. Unchecked sovereignty today becomes renewed conflict tomorrow, and repeated conflict is not only catastrophic, it is preventable. Moving on to my last point, honorable educators, economic interdependence makes isolation impossible. Honorable judges, let us talk about the illusion of economic interdependence. According to the World Bank, Global trade accounts for over 50% of global GDP. Modern economies are deeply interconnected. This means that instability in one region disrupts supply chains worldwide. The war in Ukraine significantly reduced global grain export. Ukraine and Russia together previously accounted for nearly 30% of global wheat export. See, judges, in a world of interconnected markets, supply chains, and financial system, instability in one sovereign state affects millions beyond its borders. I will then move on to the summary of my debate. Honorable educators, I first started by debunking the baseless points made by this opposition bench. I strengthened my prime minister's points, and her points were first, preventing aggression and war. Second, stopping genocide and human rights atrocities. Third, global problems requires global atrocities. I presented my core arguments, and they were first, refugee crisis proof instability is never contained. Second, recurring conflict source impunity fails. The third one is economic interdependence makes isolation impossible. I accepted a POI, but it seems you don't even understand the topic we are debating on. I will then move on to conclude, Honorable Educator. So this is my question to this Honorable House. Do we want a world governed by law or a world governed by the jungle? In the jungle, the strong eat the weak. In the jungle, the lion does not ask permission. If you vote against this motion, you vote for the jungle. We vote for the law. We vote for the UN. I proudly stand in firm support of this motion. Thank
you. Okay, Mohammed, I thought you coming. Okay, thank you so much, Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, for that wonderful submission. Now, the House is set to hear from the Deputy Opposition Leader. So, Deputy Opposition Leader, the floor is yours. Fatou Kor, I think Fatou Kor wants to say something, or Fatou Kor. Fatou Kor, your hand.
I am sorry, it's a mistake from her end.
Okay.
You can just proceed, please.
Okay, and please, I think, okay, that is the Deputy Opposition Leader who will be the last speaker of tonight's debate. Please do not pay attention to Fatou Kor's hand. And of course, it might be a distraction. However, Mariama's hand must be visible before the screen so that we're able to distinguish who is Fatou Kor and who is Mariam. Please pay attention to Mariama's hand when it is up for your protected time and when it ends. Thank you. Honorable Deputy Opposition Leader, please, the floor is yours. Is it Honorable Wei Sonko?
Okay, all right. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. Can I start?
Yes, you can begin your submission, please. Honorable Wei, are you with us? Honorable Wei, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay, you can start.
Hello.
Honorable Wei.
Okay.
You are audible.
Right. May I start now?
Yes, you can start giving your submission, please.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay. Honorable Chair, respected adjudicators, esteemed government bench, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Wei Sonko, and I rise as the Deputy Opposition to reinforce the principle and totally rejection of the motion, which believe that global peace requires empowering United Nations over national sovereignty. Honorable Speaker, a house cannot be run by two heads. It will lead to division. Honorable Speaker, before engaging with the substances, I would like to structure my debate. First, I will refute the claims of the government bench, and I will strengthen the foundational point of the opposition leader. That I will introduce two new points and give a model, then and summarize. Honorable Speaker, to refute the points of the government bench, the government argued that strengthening United Nations will ensure coordinated global peace, but veto politics undermine this claim. Empowering United Nations does not guarantee uniform global nation because veto power allow permanent members to block resolutions in their own interest, as stated in United Nations Research Guide 2020. Honorable Speaker, Russia and the United States have used veto is in conflict. Example, in Ukraine and Gaza, exposed structural bias. Without reform, strengthening United Nations risks concentrated power in 5 states rather than ensuring global peace. Honorable Chair, if sovereignty is removed, who remains accountable to the people? Honorable Speaker, to strengthen the points of the opposition leader clearly affirmed that sovereignty is the constitutional foundation of international system under the Article 2.1 and Article 2.7 of the United Nations Charter. Honorable Speaker, I would like to reinforce this. The United Nations derives its legitimacy and authority from the consent of sovereign state, not from supranational supremacy rejected. While the UN conduct numerous of peacekeeping missions, evidence shows that their effectiveness hinge on the host state consent and the political will of the major power, not on centralized enforcement capacity, as reported by RAND Corporation 2022. Honorable Speaker, I will now move on to my new points. My first new point is global peace. Okay, accepted.
If sovereignty is absolute, who stops a state from committing genocide within its borders? Can you tell this Honorable House?
By cooperation. Cooperation is the solution to this problem, not empowering United Nations. Thank you so much.
So who are you going to do the cooperation?
I will now proceed with my new points. My first point is the global peace demand cooperation. Listen very carefully. I'm giving you the answer. The global peace depends on cooperation, not coalition. Honorable Speaker, international peace is maintained. POI. Rejected. I'm not taking any POI anymore. Honorable Speaker, international peace is maintained through voluntary cooperation of sovereign states. International agreements remain effective because the state consent to bound by them. Honorable Speaker, the United Nations has no independent military or enforcement mechanism apart from its member states. If empowered above sovereignty, it will either face non-compliance from powerful states or forced into coercive enforcement. Honorable Speaker, peace emerged from negotiated consensus, respected territorial integrity, and balanced diplomacy, not from supranational institution. Honorable Speaker, moving to my second point, which is sovereignty remains the foundation of global law. Honorable Speaker, the modern international legal order is built on the principle of sovereign equality, which on both law and practice of global governance, as stated by Osama 2024. Honorable Speaker, sovereignty is not a privilege granted by UN. It is a source of legal authority, which is the consent. Without the consent of the state, UN cannot act legitimately. Article 2.7 of the United Nations Charter, 1945. POI. Intervention in matters within the state domestic jurisdiction. Honorable Speaker, empowering UN above sovereignty will contradict both treaty and customary law, turning it from consent-based to organization into supranational authority. Ignoring sovereignty weakens legitimacy, disrupts and create legal instability rather than peace. Honorable Speaker, Now I will give a principled alternative, since the government bank cannot give us a feasible alternative to rely on. Honorable Speaker, we have proven that why the government proposal is financially unworkable, politically dangerous, and morally flawed. But our case does not end with rejection. We believe in peace. We believe in international cooperation. Therefore, we offer this house a viable counter model, a blueprint for achieving global peace without destroying sovereign foundation, and that make this possible. Honorable Speaker, the first of this model is to reform the Security Council by expanding the permanent membership, including India, Brazil, Nigeria, South Africa, which represent over 2 billion people, and it's require public justification for the veto authority. Honorable Speaker, moving to the second point of this model, to invest in prevention, boosting the peace building fund of United States, which is less than 200 billion a year. Even every $1 invested in prevention saves $16 later in peacekeeping efforts, as stated by Peacekeeping Building Efforts data to 2024. Honorable Speaker, the third point of this empowerment, the third point is to empower organizations, regional organizations. Bodies like African Union should give a greater leadership role as they cooperate a modest budget around $600 million, while important local legitimate contextual understanding. Honorable Speaker, to conclude, I have reviewed the business claim of the government bench, strengthen the points of the opposition leader, introduce 2 new points, provide a counter model, and then conclude. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Okay, Mohammed. Hello, Mariama. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you to what would I say? In fact, I'm just overwhelmed. Thank you so much for the deliberation or for your speeches, for your arguments. That was a very engaging and thoughtful debate. We have had arguments from the government side emphasizing the necessity of empowering the United Nations to prevent what we call global conflict, and supported with some claims regarding, using countries like Rwanda, Ukraine, is it Palestine as case studies. We also heard from the opposition bench highlighting what we call the risk of overreach, what we call unintended consequences at the end of the day when the value of sovereignty is compromised. Now, at this point, what we intend to do, we're going to at least have a few minutes to consider definitions. At some point, evidence, premises used to support your claims. We look at clash and overall impact before delivering what we call our evaluation and decision. No scores at this point will be mentioned or will be announced. This will simply be a moment of reflection. We are going to weight each and every what we call premise to look at whether they satisfy the t-test, whether there is what we call satisfactoriness to the conclusion, or enough evidence was given to support a particular conclusion, whether your premises support your conclusion, and at some point, whether your arguments support the entire conclusion being given, that is the motion at hand, evaluate everything, and we get back to you. Mohammed, at this point, if you have anything to say, please come on board.
No, not much. Thank you very much, Mr. Basiru. Like you said, we are going to go on recess, and we consider what arguments have been advanced, what evidence has been given in defense of the arguments given, and all of that is in between, like you said. So we're going to do that, and then once we have decided as a bench, we're going to come back, and then maybe announcements would be made. I'm not sure when that is. That depends on the executive. They can determine when they will want the announcements to be made and all of that. But then for now, over and above, it's been a very, very intense debate, and I would say a very sincere one. I've seen a lot of debates, but then a debate that is as sincere as this one is one that I would say I have not seen. And I don't know whether it's because the topic is timely, considering that a lot of international aggressions are happening, and the UN seems to not necessarily be doing as much as we expect it to do. So it's over and above. It's been a very tough contest. So yeah, we will go on recess, like Basiru said, and then we will consider what's been given, and then once the decision is made, we're going to come back and then share with you what it is that our findings have been as an adjudication team. Yeah, thank you.
Good evening once again, and to those in India, and afternoon.
Thank you. Back to you guys, the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you so much, our respected judges, and good evening once again to those in India, and afternoon to those in the Gambia. We thank all our participants for those deliberations. I know we are all in a haste to share our opinions regarding the tabled motion, but before then, we would like to invite His Excellency, Vice President Modu Luis, together with the Information Minister of the Association of Gambian Students in India, to do some presentations.
Auntie Esther, you may proceed.
Thank you very much. Am I audible? Okay. Good evening to you all. My name is Aissa Tuijata. I am the Information and Communications Minister of the 9th Executive Council Association of Gambian Students in India. So without wasting much time, Gam-In celebrates first ever Gambian Goals at Gujarat Technological University. A star is a star, but some stars don't just shine, they dominate the sky. Ladies and gentlemen, the Association of Gambian Students in India, Gam-In, through the Information and Communications Ministry, proudly celebrates a historic milestone as we congratulate the first ever Gambian to be awarded with a gold medal at Gujarat Technological University. From the Smiling Coast to Golden Glory, meet excellence, meet brilliance, and most importantly, meet Abdurrahman Jallo. Graduating from Gujarat Technological University's class of 2025 with a first class with distinction in Bachelor of Civil Engineering, Mr. Jallo has not only etched his name in academic history, but has raised the Gambia's flag higher in the academic skies of India. A proud son of Kaur, Kalinding, Brikama, and an alumnus of Nusrat Senior Secondary School's Mighty Science 1 class of 2020, where he also graduated with distinction. Abdurrahman has once again proven that excellence is not an accident, it is a habit. From the classrooms of Nusrat to the grand convocation stage of GTU, this journey reflects discipline, resilience, and the unstoppable Gambian spirit. Today, like any other day, Gam-In students and alumni stands united in pride. This is not just your victory, Mr. Jallo, it is a victory for Gam-In, for Nusrat, and for the Gambia at large. You have not only made history, you have set a standard. We wish you even greater heights, greater impact, and continued distinction in all your future endeavors. Keep soaring The sky is the limit. This is just the beginning for you. Once again, on behalf of the 9th Executive Council, we congratulate you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, our Able Info and Communications Minister, for that presentation, and from the entire 9th Executive Council once again, and Association of Gambian Students in India, we extend our deepest congratulations wishes to Mr. Abdurrahman Jallo. So now, ladies and gentlemen, going further, we would like to have the presentation of certificates done. And for this, I would like to call on my deputy, who would share his screen from which we would present the certificates. This certificate of participation is proudly awarded to Keimo Dibasi for sincerely participating in the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship, organized by the 9th Executive Council of the Association of Gambian Students in India. So, Mr. Keimo Dibasi, there is your certificate. Next. Next certificate, please. I believe Mr. Jiba is finding some difficulties in showing the other certificates. But yeah, yes. This certificate is proudly awarded Miss Cecilia and Jao for successfully participating in the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship, organized by the 9th Executive Council of the Association of Gambian Students in India. Congratulations, Miss Anjao from Indonesia. There is your certificate. Next certificate. For all the participants from USA, Canada, Turkey, Indonesia, Kenya, and all the 8 different countries that took part in the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship. Tonight, we present your certificates individually. And this certificate is proudly presented or awarded to Mr. Usman Bari. So, Mr. Usman Bari, there you go. There's your certificate. Congratulations, and thank you for taking part in the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship. Next, please. Next certificate is awarded to Mr. Wuye Sonko. Congratulations, Mr. Sonko, and thank you for taking part in the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship. Next, please. This certificate is proudly presented or awarded to Mr. Sharif Jallo. Next certificate, please. Mr. Sharif Jallo, we thank you for taking part in the debate championship. And thank you for joining the battle of words. Next certificate is proudly awarded to Ms. Absatu Jallo for successfully participating in the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship, second edition, organized by the 9th Executive Council of the Association of Gambian Students in India. Thank you, Ms. Jallo. Miss or Miss, Sis, Madam Jallo, anyway. Thank you for taking part in the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate and for making it a success. Your participation is well honored. Next certificate is proudly awarded to Next certificate. This certificate is proudly awarded to Madam Jaria Tubari for successfully participating in the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship organized by the 9th Executive Council of the Association of Gambian Students in India. Madam Jaria Tubari, we extend our heartfelt thanks to you for honoring our invitation and representing your beloved country of studies in this Diaspora Debate Championship. Congratulations once again. We remain proud. And this certificate is proudly awarded to Miss Madeleine Mandy for successfully participating in the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship, organized by the 9th Executive Council of the Association of Gambian Students in India. Madam Mandy, we thank you for taking part in this second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship. Thank you for representing your current country of studies and for standing out as a Gambian in this battle of words. This certificate is proudly awarded to Mr. K. Pulling, participating in the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship, organized by the 9th Executive Council of the Association of Gambian Students in India. Thank you, Mr. Fati. There is your certificate. This certificate is proudly awarded to Madam Khadija Tusima. Thank you, Madam Khadija Tusima, for successfully participating in the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship, organized by the 9th Executive Council of the Association of Gambian Students in India. We thank you for participating and representing your country of studies well. Thank you, Madam Sima. Certificate of Participation. This certificate is proudly awarded to Mr. Mohamed Kora. We extend our sincerest gratitude to Mr. Mohamed Kora for successfully participating in the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship, organized by the 9th Executive Council of the Association of Gambian Students in India. Thank you, Mr. Kora. Thank you, Mr. Kora. Yes, certificate of participation. This certificate is proudly awarded to Mr. Momodu Baila Bari for successfully participating in the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship, organized by the 9th Executive Council of the Association of Gambian Students in India. Thank you, Mr. Bari, for representing your country of studies in the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship, second edition. This certificate is proudly awarded to Ms. Maimuna Job for successfully participating in the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship, organized by the 9th Executive Council of the Association of Gambian Students in India. We extend our sincerest gratitude to Ms. Job for taking part in the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship. Next, please. Certificate of Participation. This certificate is proudly awarded to Ms. Fatima Sidibe for successfully participating in the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship, organized by the 9th Executive Council of the Association of Gambian Students in India. Thank you, Ms. or Madam Sidibe, for taking part in the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship. Next certificate, please. This certificate is proudly awarded to Madam Mariama Dafe for successfully participating in the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship, organized by the 9th Executive Council of the Association of Gambian Students in India. Thank you, Madam Dafe, for taking part in the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship. Is that all for the, okay, that I believe is all for the participants. And once again, we extend our sincere gratitude to all our participants for taking part and making the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship a success. Now, we present our certificate of appreciation to our adjudicators. So this certificate of appreciation is proudly presented to Mr. Basiru Jallo for successfully adjudicating the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship organized by the 9th Executive Council of the Association of Gambian Students in India. Thank you, Mr. Jallo, for honoring our invitation and request. Another certificate of appreciation proudly presented to Mr. Mohamed Ba for successfully adjudicating the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship organized by the 9th Executive Council of the Association of Gambian Students in India. Thank you, Mr. Ba, for honoring our request and adjudicating the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship. This certificate of appreciation is proudly presented to Madam Mariama Jallo for successfully adjudicating the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship organized by the 9th Executive Council of the Association of Gambian Students in India. We thank you, Madam Jallo, for honoring our request. So we present an award or a prestigious award to the Young Champions Debaters Association, YCDA, from the 9th Executive Council for serving as adjudicators for the second edition of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship, providing continued dedication to fostering debate excellence. So to the entire Young Champion Debaters Association, we thank you and behold your award for serving as our adjudicators and for training our participants. We extend our sincerest gratitude to the entire Young Champion Debaters Association and remain grateful for your consistency towards the Association of Gambian Students in India request. So we thank you all for staying with us all through those certificates and award presentation, from our guest speaker to the participants and then to the award presented to the YCDA. Now we would like to open the forum or the floor for contributions or opinions regarding the tabled motion. So now the floor is open for feedbacks or opinions on the debated motion. So for your contributions, you are kindly requested to raise your hand and then you will be given the floor, please. We are welcoming contributions, feedbacks, or opinions on the debated motion.
Mr. Moses, can I come in, please?
Yes, surely, Education Minister.
Oh, okay. So I just want to clarify a point. We will be actually giving out different certificates for the best debate and the most promising debate as well. But at this point, like we don't even know like who will be the winner for the best debate and the most promising debater. So we are going to be waiting for the YCDA. If they decide on it, then from there, then we are just going to like prepare the certificates and it is going to be sent to them as well. So I just want to raise that point before like people start giving their opinion as to the table motion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Education Minister, for making that point clear. Yes, as said, we would be providing or we'll be certifying the winners and best debaters or promising debaters too, once they are known. And on that same note, also, I would like to honor the presence of alumni members from the Association of Gambian Students in India, the likes of Mr. Abdullah Njai, His Excellency Ibrahim Ambo, President of the 8th Executive Council, Ms. Mani Majane, Madam Aisatu Jallo, and Mr. Mudasiru Jallo, together with all alumni members present here with us. We thank you for your guidance and always being with us whenever we called. And also Mr. Mamadou Fati. Yes, right. We thank all alumni members present here with us for the finale of the Gam-Diaspora Debate Championship 2.0. So now we proceed with welcoming feedbacks or opinions from the debated motion. Individuals who would like to give feedbacks or opinions are kindly requested to raise their hands, from which we would give them the floor, please. Wow, is it that we are afraid to contribute, or most of us are hungry or sleepy or nervous, or I know one thing I know for sure is that Indians are not nervous. Yes, Miss Mani Majane.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator. I don't have a contribution. I have a point to raise. That is, during when the final speaker was claiming his point, when the POI was asked, a voice from the back answered the question. I believe that is big question for contribution. That is my concern. I don't have any question or contribution to make. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Jane, for that observation. I guess, okay, Mr. Sankumba Balaja has his hand up.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. First, I would like to ask this question. Is this the last opportunity to talk, or you can talk over and over? Please, before I go ahead.
That depends. If we have our adjudicators back, it would be the last opportunity.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. From my opinion, I think this debate is one of the most important debates as far as I'm concerned, attending a Gam-Diaspora's debate competition. But first, I would like to deconflict a certain point. I think, from my opinion, there is a falsehood and there is a factual. And in between them, the intersection, we have so many things that is confusing people. Before I go ahead, I would like to ask this question to all the audience. Like, for example, if the United Nations become more powerful than the sovereign state, how do we prevent powerful countries from controlling decisions that affect small nations like our homeland, the Gambia? That's my first question. And the second question is, if this motion were to be true, like, for example, if global peace requires reducing sovereignty, are we saying independence of nations like the Gambia is less important? Because we know who make the decision at the United Nations Council. We can see the current status of the world right now. The big powers are attacking the less powerful nation without no consequence. With a framework backing, like referencing United Nations or international base order, we can see what's happened what has taken place in Venezuela. We can see what has taken place in what is currently taking place at Iran. We can see what has taken place at Gaza. We can see what has taken place at Ukraine. We can go so on and so on. We can see the destabilization in our home continent, which is the Africa, is totally destabilized. for the fact that we are banking on the international rule-based order, where the powerful are less vulnerable to accountability. They are never accountable. They are always imposing their will to the others. But now, how do we hold them to accountable? That's why, as a proud citizen of the Gambia, I support the opposition bench, not because I am in the same country as they are, but based on the fact, because global peace should not come at the cost of national sovereignty. Small nations must not surrender their independence to international institutions where power is unevenly distributed. We all know is totally false. This view is not held by only me or by the Malaysian and others. Even the Prime Minister of Canada, Makani, at his speech at Davos not long ago, I think most of you are aware of it. Maybe they've listened to it. What he said this is the moment of rupture. It's not a moment of negotiation. Things has fallen apart. We know how United Nations is going. United Nations is like, it's just there as a kind of like a structure, but it's not functioning. How many wars are going? Anytime the motion is raised to resolve a war is met with veto. So it means we are controlling by the world is being controlled by a veto, not the United Nations. It's just as a structure to deceive, to dehumanize us, to deculturize all our cultures, all our values we have as an African, as a less powerful nation. So why should we back on that, on those type of organization to exit? The matter of the fact is, I think even the people that are speaking, our reference is from the Makani, what he said. Like, for example, a trader raised a flag saying that all the traders in the world are united. But he privately know that he is lying. What he's saying is untrue. I hope that's not the case here. Like, for example, the case of the lawyer, they will always defend their client. No matter how you can see the criminal lawyers, they will defend their client. No matter how the fact is, they will try to change the fact. But at the end of the day, the fact remains factual. That's what we are right now. United Nations is not functioning. And then also, true peace does not come from imposing. It comes from cooperation, but not control. I think based on this, from viewing these matters from this dynamic and this perspective, I tend to sideline with the opposition leader, not because we are from the same university or in Malaysia or something, but based on the facts and the results that are available at our own eyes. No one can fool me. Thank you.
Wow. Okay, it's not my time to speak anyway, so I would invite Mr. Modu Luis on board. He has his hand raised. Yes, Mr. Luis.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. SG. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Am I quite audible, SG? SG, am I audible? Okay, thank you very much. So, regarding the topic, to be honest, it's a very complex topic. And thank you very much, Mr. Balajo, for all the things you have said, which are very, very true at some point. Yeah, now to set a balance between national interest and global cooperation, it essentially asks whether giving more power to the authority of the United Nations, is the key to achieving and maintaining world peace. Even if it means, as Mr. Balaja said, that, you have to sideline some of the small countries. But yet still, let's talk about the UN first. That is it. Is the UN functioning like what Mr. Balaja said? That is the question like everyone should be asked. Is it functioning? Looking at the world right now and everything that is going on in the world, like, is the UN functioning? And to be honest, a corporation like UN, for me, to be quite frank with you guys, I don't even agree with it at all. Because a continent like Africa, how many countries? Over 50 countries in Africa. We don't have we don't make decisions in UN. The second largest continent after Asia. So does it really make sense? Does it really make sense that, okay, we have to, depend on UN, for world peace? When we talk about the world and we, the Africans, are the second largest continent in Africa, does it really make sense? we are not part of the decision makers. So if something is happening in Africa, they will be to decide for us. So at some point, what is the use of the UN being here at some point? So to be honest, it's better we depend on this sovereign countries, to depend on them for world peace, make negotiations and everything with them. It's I think it's better than even depending on the UN, because they will not do anything about it. Look at the genocide that has been happening all over the world. Look at what is going on right now, as Mr. Balabala just said. So to be honest, this topic is very complex. But when you hear the name UN, United Nations, you'll think that okay, this is a corporation that is here for the whole world. But if a large continent like Africa is not part of people in UN that are making decisions, then what is the use of that corporation? They should just, name it after, maybe another continent or two continents, rather than saying that, okay, it represents the whole world. Yeah, I think that is all I have for now, Mr. David. Mr. Moses, sorry. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, His Excellency. Mr. Ahmadou Jallo, can we have you on board? Do we have Mr. Ahmadou Jallo here, please?
Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for giving me the floor. Well, I think from my own observation, I think this is a very, very important topic that I think is high time countries or the global world start pondering or looking over this. Because by looking at UN itself, do you even think even part of them they will have the strength even to execute such roles? I don't think so. Because if you look at UN as a body, everything that they do depends on countries. So if they are to be given power about those countries, do you think those countries will eventually listen to them? No, because they are been formed by those countries. Today, where is the headquarters? In the US. If US want to do something, they decide to stop US. US will take action against them. We've seen that happening. We've seen US sanctioning members of the UN, telling them you can't enter my country anymore. So if such things are happening, then we see still the body is dependent upon these countries. So eventually, if you are dependent on somebody, you cannot push them to a certain cause. You have to give concessions to certain things that they want. And eventually that is happening. And another thing is, if they are given such power, who is still executing those powers? It's still those same people that are ruling them today. It's the same people that execute such power. So I don't think it is logical to say such motions that we give these people power. The best thing is to look at the system that is framed in a different manner. Because you look at the foundation of UN and the way it is working, it was just framed for certain people to control how the global society will work. It's not like a system that everybody have a say and everybody have equal right and contribution. It's not a system that is built in such a manner, but we're trying to look at it in such a manner, but in reality it is not. If you look at its powers, its laws, and then how it operates, it doesn't make sense that it is representing everybody by saying it is, but by reality it is not. Because if it is, then it should have stopped certain countries from doing certain things. That doesn't make sense. Broad daylight, we've all seen superpowers doing whatsoever they want. What do you say about it? Nothing. They don't hold them accountable, they don't do anything. They just call emergency nonsensical meetings and they say certain one or two things and they close it. They go ahead. They issue statement. That is not doing their job. Even today, if they are giving powers beyond that, what will they do? So basically, to me, even UN by its entirety doesn't make sense. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jallo, for those opinions, for your opinion. I would like to invite Mr. Abdullah Jai, one of alumni members. Yes, Mr. Jai.
Yes, good evening from the Gambia. And thank you for having me. Well, this is a topic that the likes of Sergio and others would know I'm really interested in, because we are people that follow the news and the like. So we definitely love this kind of, and I wouldn't agree. I would definitely applaud you, the team, the educators, for having this topic at this exact time. I'm not sure whether it's a coincidence or whether it's just a team that is just bring recently, but you couldn't have choose a better motion for the debate than this at this particular time, honestly. I really want to thank the nine executive for coming up with this brilliant idea and then debating on these issues, because people really need to know and understand the stance of the world and everyone at peace, honestly. So once again, this to be the final of this year's debate competition, I want to use the opportunity to congratulate you, the GAM-IN executive, and all the participants, including the finalists, Malaysia and India, and everyone that has participated. We really congratulate you, and everyone is a winner here. Just coming together, chatting, debating about things. This is the way forward, honestly. We couldn't have built this world if we don't discuss things. Now, coming to the topic, it's really interesting, and people need to remember the formation of this UN, why the UN was formed. I think it was exactly to bring peace. Immediately after World War II, I think it was 1945, if I remember, December 24th, I believe. 1945, after World War II, immediately, the UN was formed to make sure that people come together and discuss. Now, coming back to that, you would realize that even the membership itself, looking at maybe I think it was chapter 2 where it says organization of this is based on membership. I mean membership for this UN membership. It said the organization is based on the principle of sovereignty and equal of all its members. So it's definitely the sovereignty of the countries that determine the United Nations. I think you need to understand this. And secondly, the reason why the UN is not doing well now is because it's not independent. It's not giving everything it should give. Let's talk about someone talking about, I think the former speaker talking about the vetoing. It's because there's no equal right. The UN has no right. It's still based on countries. For instance, the United Nations have all the powers. That's sovereignty. That is jungle of war, survival of the fittest. If America is having the powers and do whatever it wants at the UN, it's still individual sovereignty. There is no global management. There is no global control. So if the UN was definitely emphasized to make sure that they manage and they run things independently, freely, without the intervention of US or any other big country, then it would have been fair. They would have decided. But this is not happening. And this is why we have this vetoing right, this nonsense, and all those big fish are the ones still managing. And this is exactly the problem we are facing. And that is why we needed one umbrella. For instance, one debate mention of the COVID-19. Was the COVID-19 fought by only one country? It's not possible. No one person alone could do this. You'd have to collaborate and connect. No, why do you have embassies all over? You have to collaborate and connect to fix problems. So we really need to have a universal declaration or this UN charter to make sure people or countries collaborate and cooperate to make sure. For instance, another example I'll give you is the issue of Interpol. Would you do cross-border terrorism attack if there was no UN and this kind of association? It won't work. You don't have any right to go to any country to do it because everyone is independent, sovereign to do whatever he wants. So this is why we really need that collaboration. And again, I'll remind you guys that the reason why the UN is not very active is because there is still not been, how do I call it? They are not being energized to make sure they perform their rights and responsibility. They make sure that they do whatever they want to do without the interference of Ukraine or Russia or America or China. That is the problem. If that has not been the case, I'm pretty sure the laws and the books that the UN has would have operated independently and would have been able to fix all the problems because it was as a result of the World War II to make sure that countries communicate to avoid these wars so that there is peace. This was exactly the reason behind. But that is defeated because the likes of America, their hypocrisy and their selfish interest, that is exactly the reason why it's not working fine. As far as that is fixed, or as soon as that is fixed, I'll tell you that the UN would work more than any other country because together you can fix problems, but alone you cannot do anything. I tell you this, alone you cannot do it. Even the war that they are doing, if America alone was trying to fire rockets to Iran, wouldn't do it alone. Israel cannot do it alone, they have to join forces, including even some of the Middle East countries. So this is the reality. No one stands alone, no one can do it alone. We really need to come together and fix problems. That's my point. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for the loud voice. Over.
Thank you so much, Mr. Njai. As said in Wolof, Magbah Nachikir. Yeah, you're truly a testament to that, and we appreciate you for those great opinions. Yes, I believe at some point I saw Madam Jaria Tubari's hand up. Do we still have Madam Jaria Tubari?
Hi, Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, yeah, my hand was up. But what I wanted to say, if they said most of it, I just wanted to add a little. Like, okay, like the US is for it provide peace building, but it's at the diplomatic level most of the time. If we look at it, like we cannot sell our sovereignty to UN because when we look around the world, before UN intervenes, what should happen has already happened. They have to go through a lot of bureaucracy. I don't even know. Like something is on the broad daylight on our screens. They're still saying no. What like the bureaucracy is just too much. And if we look at most nations that have their own sovereignty within their own control, within their own reach, we get to find out that they control most of everything. Like when we look at North Korea right now, who dares goes there? And everything is fine, everything is going good. But if you cannot control your own sovereignty, I don't think we can depend on UN to control that. They can't. How many years of war in Darfur? Like there are soldiers that are recruited, I think, through the UN. That is sometimes even in the Gambia, we have some of our Gambian soldiers that go there. But what we find out is that when they go there, they just go to fill their pockets, go and come back. So at the end of the day, UN is just a formality and its work can only happen on the table. That's my contribution to this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Barry. Next, can we have Mr. Mohammed Barry?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is doing good. Well, the topic is interesting. Yeah, and I would just want to add on, like, generally, these international organizations are just there to you have the AU, you have the ECOWAS, you have UN. Most of these international organizations are just there to benefit certain countries that has some power. When you look at Africa, a lot of wars that have been going on, and there's AU is nowhere to be found. When you look at Congo, what's happening in Congo, when you look at so many things in history, look at Libya, when Muammar Gaddafi was invaded by US and nothing happened from the African Union, and then the UN had the audacity to tell the African leaders that if you intervene, we cannot protect you. So it is not something that is so difficult. These are organizations that are set up in order to control the weaker countries. When you come to the UN was set up after the Second World War in order to establish peace in the world. But then look at what happened in the subsequent years. First of all, you look at the genocide in Bosnia. When you look at Bosnia in the middle of Europe, when it was Yugoslavia, you have these countries like Slovakia, Austria, committed a genocide in the 90s, and the UN, it was under the watchful eye of the UN. You come to Libya, as I said earlier, you come to all these African countries where these things are happening. So today, what we see is nothing new. Like we just see just that today that there's social media and we can see these things. But these things have been happening for years. Like we were not just aware. Today, when you look at the hypocrisy of US, these people have riots that are taking place in Minneapolis in the US, where they are attacking the government, attacking Somali citizens, and they could not solve that problem. But they have the I don't know how to say this politely. They have the audacity to just want to invade another country and expect to bring peace to that country. But then you cannot solve your own problems, but then you can solve other people's problems. So this is nothing new. And in order like to reflect on this more, when we look at our countries, when we need to be sovereign in all manners, when we look at our food, if we depend on outside powers in order to import food, how can we be independent? When you rely on their technology, you rely on their data servers. They know your country, they know everything you do, how can you survive and how can you be independent? Like, it is just funny. So we need to work on ourselves. We need to improve our own technology. We need to produce our own food, agriculture. We need to do a lot of things in order to be sovereign. You have to work. We cannot just sit here and complain about the UN, and then, like, how will we live? Like today in the Gambia, agriculture is not being supported, and so when, let's say, we want Gambia to be independent, and we want to boycott some of these countries, you cannot do it because you depend on them for food, you depend on them for fuel, we depend on them for a lot of things. So it is just a point of reflection that we need to improve ourselves. You know, when you improve yourself, that's the only way you can be independent. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Barry. Another point said there. Can we have Mr. Pasidi Jame?
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'll just make sure that I speak as quick as possible. Mr. Barry, you've hit a very important point here. A lot of people will be talking about Africa not being recognized as people that have power. And then when we look into this, we are definitely at fault because even the West time us to be hungry. That's the first instance here. Anything that happens, they think that we don't feed. And then we are trying to prove that to them. Yeah, that's true. Because whenever the West provide us with anything, we don't have even a second doubt on it. The next minute you realize we already consume everything. At the end of the day, how do you expect such a person to respect you? The thing is, we always say this: when someone feeds you, they have control over what you do. And then the hardest truth is the West is controlling Gambia. The West is controlling any other African countries except those countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, and other countries that we believe that the leaders are trying their level best. And then there is one secret that people don't understand. If the West knows that you are a very difficult country to deal with, they respect you. If they know that you are not their puppet, they respect you. But if they know that you are a country like Gambia, whenever, even if there is a single, conference, you have millions of people trying to go to the embassy to get a visa to go to America, then they don't respect you because you're trying to prove to them that, hey, look, my country is nothing, so I'm in a hurry to come here. How many international students travel, including myself, outside? And then if you tell us about Gambia, what's the next thing? Let me just be here and then manage, things are not easy. We all say that, and which is definitely the truth. At the end of the day, how do you expect all those intellectuals to leave the country? You think that the country is going to develop? That's just something that we need to put into consideration. When we look into agriculture, if you are agriculturist in Gambia, don't make that mistake and say that in class, because people are going to say that you are from a poor background. Yeah, we time that anyone who is involved into agriculture, it's because you are poor. That's the truth. When we look into technology, just see someone who is going to do a program in IT, people will start labeling them. Hey, look, how many people are doing IT? They haven't achieved anything. So why are you going to do it? So the discouragement, the way we lack self-confidence among ourselves is definitely discouraging. And then the West will never accept us. How many people travel? At the end of the day, the West will just consume them into the system. You think they are stupid? They're not stupid. They know what they are definitely doing. Spain just approve over 5,000, something like that, immigration benefit to other people. Do you think that's a stupid move? No. What they're doing now is we have all those intellectuals there. They're going to use them, put them into their system. They'll be delivering for Spain. Do you think those people will be able, will definitely not be able to deliver? They will be able to deliver because they have the resources. In Gambia, the self-esteem, the support that we need, nothing is there. At the end of the day, we don't expect to stand out globally, not only in Gambia, but this applies to other African countries. If anyone feeds you, they have control over what you do. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jame. Next, can we have Mr. Abdullah Njai?
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Is it SG? Sorry for coming back. I definitely had some of this point, and I said, I need to come back. And I really agree with you guys. I'm not saying a different thing. I agree with you that, we really need to work on ourselves. But here we are talking about global peace. And I repeat that no one can do it alone. Now, talking about internal problem, like ourselves, we really need to believe in ourselves. Since we fought for independence, we know that we really need to do a lot for ourselves. But that alone is not enough. We really need to work on ourselves. I agree 100%. We really need to work on ourselves, develop ourselves as a country, and have everything intact. That is just first. But again, when we're talking of global, then you are no longer, it's no longer Gambia alone. And like I said, the reason why some of these organizations are not active is because they are not being empowered to do the right thing. If America is doing more, or is they're almost responsible for everything at the UN, or have a bigger say, it will almost be micromanaging the UN, like the African Union. All these organizations are micromanaged, or they're not doing better because they are not being utilized properly. They are not being well structured. If everyone has sit on the table and make sure, you know what, it's 50-50. Like someone just said recently, one of the president, that we are not here to beg. We don't go there to tell you we need these things. But some of these things are our attitude. Like just the last speaker said, some of these people you don't respect you outside. It's because of our attitudes. Most of us, for instance, an example, if you travel, you go to Europe, even India, when we go to studies, I meet with some Africans, they say they never want to go back. You're selling your own attitude. You're telling people who you are. Why do you expect people to respect you? But when you talk of global issues, I am saying this, even countries that are advanced at America, they have allies. They work with other countries. You need partners. You need to work as a team. If the pandemic did not teach people a lesson, there's nothing that can teach us a lesson. Even if you're fighting a war, you're going to do it alone. For global peace, we need each other. We need a universal voice. We need something that can micromanage and take responsibility for everything. And when speaks, everyone listens. But if you think we can do it individually, country-wise, no. And the reason, I'm not saying that the UN or the African Union are doing good. No, I agree that they are almost useless. But it's because of the structure and the reason, or the motive behind it. Because, for instance, like I said, if America is doing a lot, or is having a bigger say, or has veto in power, they, of course, do whatever they want, and no one can do anything about it. So that UN is not the UN we are calling for. That's why the point they said the strengthening, empowering the UN, meaning empowering it meaning giving them the power to make sure that it's not just micromanaged by one country or two. In that case, then it serves everyone. Like Article 2 define the membership part. Everyone has equal voice. Then everyone listen. Then it becomes global peace. But once it is the same UN, it will be the same, and the same African Union and the likes, they will all be useless, and they will not be serving their purpose. I think we need to understand that. But coming back to developing, each country need, as long as you are independent, you have your sovereignty, you need to work on your independence and your sovereignty. And that the people has to take the responsibility, believing in themselves and coming back to their country to build their country, which is not happening. And in our case, that's why it's more serious, because people don't want to come back, people don't want to do everything but their country. Once you go, you're out of Gambia, or you're out of another, you live in other countries. So you go there and stay there, and then that's it. I'm sorry, but that is the reality. But I'm sure if UN is threatening, we would have a better global peace. That's my submission. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Njai. Next, can we have Mr. Sankumba Balajo?
Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity again. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. The point I want to raise this time around, let us not talk about UN. Let's talk about ourselves, in between us even. Is even the, I would like to give suggestion. It's a kind of like a suggestion. I'm not criticizing any other things. It's like even the debate structure you can see between Malaysia and Gambia is deculturizing us. It's not mentioning our identity. It's like we are taking someone's identity, we are comparing them. India, Malaysia. India is not debating here. Malaysia is not debating here. But it's us Gambian that are debating here. I think it would have been better if it was Malaysian student at Gambian student at Malaysia, Indian student at India, rather than that abbreviation. I have a problem with that. I think because my problem with this one is not because only because of the name or other things. It comes down to the sovereignty. It's like when we are, if you change your name, you change your identity. If you change anything, part of your culture or something, you are acculturizing yourself. You are deculturizing yourself. And this is the intention. They are trying to dehumanize us. They are trying to do everything. And let's talk about peace. My third point is peace. First, let's roll back to the history. World War II, 1940s and going upward. We can see like the heinous crimes committed by U.S. First, United Nations was created by United States. It's on doubt. Everybody knows what is it. They've committed a heinous crime at that World War II, during that World War II, what they did, they come with this plan, United Nations, to cover what they did there. It's like you did a crime, you want to back up yourself, you have to call for a dialogue. That in that dialogue, like that's why the things are not distributed equally. United Nations, US is back. Anything they do, any crime they, like we can see, like for like of the Libya, why none of these countries been held accountable? Because they got a legal approval from ICC, backing from the United Nations. They cannot be held accountable. It's like they normalize crimes. Whatever they do, they normalize it. When they kill us, they normalize it. When we kill them, they call us terrorists. That's how it is. They call you terrorists. You will not be able to have a business transaction with other countries and other things because you are designated as a terrorist. But for them, when they kill, they are killing terrorists or they are doing accountability. So the architect of the United Nations, as a African or as a Gambian or like a color, as a color person, I'm not sure if you should even talk about like a United Nations. No matter how if it let's assume that everybody has an equal power at the United Nations. Militarily, are we equal? We aren't. You can like the difference is so huge. The concept of this sovereignty and other things, they are taking our sovereignty away. We cannot have an United Nations that empower everybody, that empower everyone's sovereignty. United Nations in its principle and other things has a sovereignty as principle, but is what is implemented? No. And legally we have nothing to prove ourselves. We have nothing to like, we have no power. So it's like for United Nations, I think it's not a body that we should even be reconsidering in our discussion. We should think about something else, alternative. But United Nations is not the option because it cannot be reformed. It's structured in this way. You have a veto. Even we have a five vetoes from other African nationalities. Still, there is no equal balance. It's just those countries. They are going to be working based on their interests. Let's call spirit a spirit. That's how it is. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Balajo. While we wait on our adjudicators, we're still taking contributions. Next, I would like to call on Ms. Awasonko.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. It has truly been an insightful debate, and both sides have presented their arguments very well. And also, I won't take much of your time, and I don't have much to add beyond what has already been discussed. But I would like to make a small contribution from my own point of view. So let's look at this. Let's look at it this way. Sovereignty is important. Yes, every nation values its independence and right to self-govern. But in my opinion, independence alone cannot guarantee global peace in today's interconnected world. For example, members of our Gambian armed forces being deployed to Sudan under United Nations peacekeeping missions, they were not going there to take away sovereignty, but to help stabilize conflicts and protect civilians. And that experience alone showed me that peace sometimes requires international cooperation and beyond national borders. So we have also seen in parts of Africa where internal conflicts escalated to levels that required international peacekeeping support. If sovereignty alone were enough to maintain peace, such interventions will not be necessary. But reality shows us that when crises grow beyond national control, global support becomes essential. So from my perspective, empowering the United Nations is not about weakening nations. It is about strengthening a global system where accountability, mediation, and cooperation help prevent escalations and protect smaller or vulnerable states. So peace is not sustained by isolation, it is sustained by shared responsibility. And for that reason, I confidently stand with India in supporting this motion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sonko, for those points. So, ladies and gentlemen, just a reminder that we're still waiting on our adjudicators. I believe we can all attest to the fact that the motion was well debated. I believe that is why the adjudicators are taking more time to have the points calculated and bring us the winners, which I believe all of us are waiting for at this point. So as we wait on them, we continue with with your contributions actually and opinions under the tabled motion.
Mr. SG?
Right, sir.
Yeah, I would just like to interrupt with the independence video, but feel free to cut me anytime someone have something to say, okay?
Right, thank you. There is no voice, please.
As we celebrate the 61st independence today, let us remind ourselves to the values that have guided us thus far. Let us empower others. Let us uplift marginalized voices. Let us strengthen unity. Let us embrace innovation. With unity and strength, we can build a Gambia defined by equality, opportunity, and respect for all.
The celebration also featured powerful and emotional poetry, recitals by students reflecting on past injustices, torture, and atrocities experienced in the Gambia's history, while inspiring hope for brighter and more united future. Advisor to the Association of African Students in India, Andriana Muley, who has consistently supported Gambian student events, encouraged students to remain focused on their studies and return home after graduation to contribute meaningfully to national development.
Yourselves on what you can do for your country. What positive changes you want to bring in your country as a political leader, as a business leader, as an average person. I am with you to guide you wherever required. Look forward to working together.
Vice Chancellor of LNCT University had this to say.
Independence is not merely a political milestone, it's a living spirit. It symbolizes the growth of identity, unity, and collective joy. The journey of the Gambia stands as an inspiring testament to how nations grow stronger through perseverance, peace, and partnership. At LNCT University, we firmly believe that education builds bridges across continents, India and the Gambia. Share common values rooted in democracy, youth empowerment, cultural heritage, and sustainable development.
In her address, Her Excellency Fatoumata Diouf called for unity among Gambians and urged citizens to embrace the One Love slogan as a guiding principle for national progress.
61 years on, the Gambia stands as a nation strengthened by its diversity, enriched by its culture, we take in pride our peaceful coexistence of vibrant tradition and resilience of our people, who have constantly demonstrated the ability to overcome challenges with unity and resolve.
The Gambia, proudly known as the Smiling Coast of Africa, is a nation blessed with rich cultural diversity and strong traditional heritage. Though the smallest country on the mainland Africa, it is a home to several vibrant ethnic groups, each contributing uniquely to the nation's identity. Proudly presented during the celebration, where represented Abdulrahman delivered the
Oh, Bezos is going back.
event, highlighting
Yes, Mr. Balaga.
preserving our cultural heritage.
VP, you may proceed, please.
His presence reflected the pride, commitment, and responsibility of the youth in carrying forward the traditions and values of our diverse nation. The climax of the event was a vibrant cultural display celebrating the rich diversity of the Gambia. Ethnic groups including the Mandinka, Wolof, Manjago, Jola, and Fulani showcased their traditional attire and marriage customs, highlighting the beauty of Gambian heritage. The audience were thrilled by the appearance of the Mandinka masquerade, known as the Kankurang, and a Wolof Zimba masquerade performance, which brought colorful rhyme and excitement to the stage. The celebration not only marked 61 years of independence, but responsibility of Gambian students abroad to contribute towards national development. For GRTS News, I am Aisatu Jatagasama, reporting from Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh, India.
Of Gambian students in India celebrated the Gambia's 61st independence anniversary in Madhya Pradesh. The commemoration brought together Gambian students from across India in a show of unity. This year's celebration explored the 2026 theme, leveraging human capital and infrastructure for an inclusive to prosperity. Aisatu Jata Gasama reports from India.
The Association of Gambian Students in India has celebrated the Gambia's 61st independence anniversary in grand style in Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh. The colorful event was hosted.
Thank you. I believe we now have our educators back. And now I know even those who were sleepy are all awake to hear the news they have for us. Over to you, Mr. Basil Jallo.
Hello, can I confirm that whether I am audible? Okay, thank you so much. All right, I'm going to give you the feedback as expected. First, we look at the motion. We look at exactly what it required us to do. Then we look at individual speaker, what we call their arguments that they brought before us today, and how we evaluated them. So let's move on. I'm sorry, I have a very, very bad handwriting. Sometimes I struggle to understand exactly what I was writing. I'll just have it in my ear. I remember when when it's time for feedback, I'll say, okay, is this A or B or something like that? Okay. Yeah. Now, sorry, just a minute. Okay. Now, we look at the motion itself. We look at some key terms. We talk about empowering. Of course, it's a broad term. You understand? It's a broad term. Now, my expectation was at least the government should explain. So to explain what we call what powers does the current UN lack, and what authority, of course, it needs again, and which areas at some point when it's come to be military interventions sometimes, or sanctions, or human rights, or peacekeeping. But as long as this deliberation is concerned, I have heard from the Prime Minister trying to tailor it down at some point, just for what you call military actions, sometimes when a state goes beyond its capacity or goes in a broad daylight, what you call killing, or what you call mass killing and the likes, or trying to at least commit certain crimes, which of course we are not situated under international conventions or defined by law. Yeah. I think that was a problem that I experienced, or we experienced as adjudicators. It was not clearly positioned or situated or rooted on example which crime, you understand, are supposed to be committed that would warrant intervention. This intervention would undermine what we call national sovereignty. Yeah, but of course, the deliberation on how the speech was to be done or what's supposed to be done at their own level was quickly outlined. Okay, now empowering could mean, example, giving the UN Security Council binding authority without veto power, and allowing the UN in general to deploy peacekeeping forces without host country consent. I think this should have been what you call the battleground for the debate. Yeah, or sometimes you say, all right, making UN ruling overrides national laws in certain cases. I think here the clash is between sovereignty itself and what you call limitation. Yeah. Now, if vague ideas are presented at some point, we find it very difficult to conceptualize them, and it may impact sometimes your performance. Okay, now I was expecting what we call a clear explanation of what you call over national sovereignty and what it implies in general. Are you talking about the UN having what you call the power, or whereby the power prevails over state decision? And if you mention these decisions, what exactly are these decisions? Okay, state cannot block maybe United Nations action by invoking sovereignty at some point, because once you come under the UN, states are aware that yes, they have some limitations. Sovereignty is limited; it is not absolute. You understand? Once you come, you ratify certain charters or something like that, you are aware the risk at hand. So sovereignty is never absolute. Of course, it was an argument established by the government, but a precision was at some point lacking. Yeah. So I was expecting something like that. What or when does the UN authority override? Should have helped me a lot, or help my colleagues in order to evaluate, example, the argument. Is this of course limited to war prevention in general, but of course in their documentation we could see certain things in their arguments. Okay, we could see that they are talking about conflict prevention or war prevention or something like that. Of course, what does it include? Is it about national conflicts or something like that? Yeah, sometimes the UN can, of course, act when the nation fails, but there are certain things, certain conditions that would warrant them to at least come on board and intervene. So those were the things that we are lacking from the argument, from the arguments. So let's go back to each and every one's debate or argument in general and see where the strength come from, and of course where they were deeply concerned about the weaknesses and therefore impacted in their have so many impacts in their debate. But as I mentioned, there is no loser or winner of this tonight's debate. All what we know, Gambia wins at all costs. Dialogue is the way forward, as long as we are concerned. Now, moving towards the Prime Minister single-handedly provide what you call a structural argument, at some point needs what you call some clarity that I believe should have given them what we call weight in design or in fact changing the game from their first encounter. Now, the Prime Minister talks about sovereignty for sure, and of course Article 2.1 where you could expressly affirm sovereignty, equality of all member states, and that is, I think there is no point that disputed this fact. Now, if we can, the legal legitimacy of the UN collapses at some point. Now, state lost what we call trust in the system. Compliance is what we call at some point degrees. Now, empowering the UN concentrates what we call power in the Security Council. Now, the UN Council has what we call 5 permanent members for sure. With veto power, UK, we talk about is it UK, the US, look at France, China, and Russia. So if the UN gains overriding authority, then power at some point becomes centralized in these few what you call few states. Now, if you look at it, the arguments were at some point looking at UN-led interventions where at some point destabilize what we call regions in general. Now, if you look at the Libyan conflict, 2011, I think I was expecting the government to come up with this issue. At some point, unauthorized intervention can lead to what we call regime change, or sometimes collapse or prolonged instabilities. This would have been, for example, a clash from both opposing, both government and what you call the opposition bench. I was expecting this point from the opposition, from the government. This would have been, okay, if you give these people the authority, or they require this authority and you give them, what will be the results? Sometimes Libyan 2011 article incident could have been what you call a very good point to debate on. Look at Iraq 2003, and currently, if you look at what we call the Venezuelan crisis between the US rather, and Venezuela, all of these things were pointed out that I was expecting, or at some point would have been the clash between the two teams. However, both teams did well. Now, the Prime Minister was arguing that the UN is currently paralyzed, e.g., Russia-Ukraine war, because of the veto powers. Therefore, empowering or reforming the UN would prevent what you call aggressions and wars. And the evidence that the Prime Minister used was like, okay, over 10,000 what you call confirmed civilian death, according to the UN Human Rights Office. That was a very good point, meaning we were appealing to authority. At some point, this is very vital in debate. Give us what we call credible information that we can rely on. And this has to deal with appealing to authority. Now, 6 million civilians or refugees, rather, in general, were at least impacted. We talk about Security Council paralyzed due to what we call the current system failed. How it failed in general, that failed the war. At some point, that failed to protect civilians. Empowerment is necessary for global peace, and that was the point that the Prime Minister was trying to argue. Now, I was asking myself, is this premise satisfactory? Yes, it was, to our own knowledge, satisfactory. The facts about civilian death, refugee displacement, Security Council veto paralysis, I think, are accurate and widely documented cases that we can rely on to say, okay, this premise is satisfactory because it appeals to authority. Now let's look at this, whether the premise at some point support the conclusion. Yes, the Prime Minister saw that the UN cannot act without a veto power for sure. Aggression continues unchecked. This supports the idea that the current structure is ineffective. That's why when she was arguing that there should be reformation or something like that, I was saying, wow, yes, you are trying at least to, yeah. Sorry for that, a whole hour, whole 4 hours debate. Of course, it's okay. Now, does this automatically support what we call empowering the UN over sovereignty? Would stop at some point, this empowering, would it stop sovereignty, or would it limit sovereignty? Would it stop, in fact, Russia, as they claim? Yeah, that's where the problem came in. Yeah, there was no establishment. Would Russia comply with stronger UN sanctions or something like that? Or veto is, if veto is removed, would reinforcement be, at some point, would what we call against these nuclear states? That was not very clear. I'm sorry that we need some time. Of course, we need some time to at least justify our results, to be frank with you. If not, we may be confronted with a lot of things, and we do not want this to extend beyond this forum. So it is imperative we come up with clear evidence. If you dispute certain things, we come with clear evidence to show the general public this is what had happened when we were trying to evaluate this. So I think, yeah, of course, we can summarize. Of course, yeah. Now, let's look at this point. Now, let's look at the core argument of the Deputy Prime Minister. The Deputy Prime Minister argues on limitation of sovereignty. Sovereignty is not about absolute. International law already limit what you call sovereignty. Global problems cross what you call borders. This is a strong structural what you call response to the opposition to the sovereignty. Sovereignty is sacred, as alluded by the opposition leader. Now, the strength of the argument was that it engages directly with the case or the case core principle. Now, at some point, I was asking the Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, at some point, explain how empowerment could legally override national sovereignty. I was not, or we were not able to identify that in your argument. Would reforms for sure would reform change what you call enforcement and the likes? If not, I think it would have been a very good encounter. Now, the spillover argument also, looking at the COVID-19 as what we call an analogy within this Ukraine-Palestinian wars. This is what we call a potential, one of the most, one of the strongest what we call points or idea that came from the government side. Now, even with the pandemics analogy, yeah, it spread globally. Wars sometimes also can kill refugee crisis and economic shocks at some point. Now, conflict affect global markets and food supply chain. I was, okay, I'm not an economist. I don't know what they were trying. But if you look at how they conceptualize the arguments, you will know that, yes, this was logically sound. Now, the Prime Minister at this point didn't explain why stronger UN authority, not just what you call cooperation as they frame it, solve spillover, why existing mechanisms are not sufficient. That was something that I was expecting to be proven, but it did not. Impunity also was something that was mentioned, like, yeah, let me just summarize a bit. I cannot say everything. Let's look at the opposition leader. What was the core argument at some point that was brought before us would be like the use of veto power in the United Nations at some point was biased. Do I get it right? Okay. Oh my God, sorry. Okay, now let's look at the framing of the wording or the wordings of the opposition leader. When you talk about sovereignty, as I mentioned in the first place, sovereignty is not absolute. Do you understand? It is widely known that sovereignty can be limited by international organizations. Like if you look at the UN Charter, and you understand that there are areas whereby the UN can intervene, especially when state fail to protect civilians. Therefore, the arguments that it contradicts the very foundation that give them that autonomy or legitimacy, I think that was not widely sufficient to support your claim. You understand? So basically, civil nations have sovereignty. Nobody disputes that they can enforce laws without external control. That is a matter of fact. But they have some limitations. How about if they commit genocide, like if there is genocide and the UN has to intervene or something like that, they have to manage the crisis at hand. Therefore, at some point, it was not sufficiently proven that, even if you look at what you call absolutism, the core principle, I think there is no law that at some point will be absolute. It has some constraint. Even though the government side, they fail to come on board to strongly point that, absolutism, where does it exist? There's no law on earth, as far as I know, that talks about okay, UN or something like that cannot especially regulate certain atrocities. I have not come across with that. Yeah. Okay. I will leave it at that. Mohammed should come forward and say one or two things before we move on. I just try to look at the core arguments. Maybe he has also certain points to consider before we announce these results.
Thank you very much, Mr. Basiru. I realize it's already been a long day, so I don't really have a lot to say because I will align myself with most of what you've said. Basically, that's just what I have already put down. So I'll try to align myself with everything that you've said with respect to the debates and all of that. But over and above, I just want to thank the organizers for this incredible job. All of us, although we are adjudicating, we've adjudicated from the beginning of the debate right through to the end, but we've really learned a great deal. And I can also say the future of debate is really bright. We've really had to adjudicate individuals who, in some people who, when they get into the debate arena with you, you're equally going to be given a very tough contest. So I want to really give them, I really want to congratulate them for this incredible and the debaters as well. This is an incredible step that they have taken. Not everybody would be able to do it, but the fact that some of you have been willing and ready to put yourselves out there, that in and of itself speaks volumes of how far all of you can go with everything that you've done. And today's debate, I would say, was nothing short of standard. It was intense, it was engaging, it was even, I would say, very thought-provoking. And you realize that when we went on recess, we had to take a lot of time to be able to come to terms with some of these things that were done, or even to have an agreement on some of these things. There was also another heated debate during the call because there was a bit of back and forth with respect to certain things. So all of that is a part of adjudication. That is the reason why there is a need for just more than one person, because there has to be that level of disagreement as well among the judges during the judging during the consideration stage. But again, we always try to find a consensus. We always try to find a middle ground. And I think those who've read judgments would sometimes see there is a dissenting judge, a judge that would say, I agree with A, but I do not agree with B. So that is part of the reasons why usually when we go on recess, we take a lot of time. And we want to, again, plead with everybody who's been on the call from the beginning right through to the end. There's always a lot to say, but time is always the enemy. So I'll leave it at this, and then I'll let Mr. Basiru to go ahead with the announcement of the results. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Basiru, your mic is muted.
Sorry, I was talking. Okay. Okay, let's look at the, how would I call it, the opposition first. We are justifying that we scored them out of, is it 56, sorry, out of 100 points. And of course, they were able to gain 56 points. Why? They came up with what we call principle defense of sovereignty at some point, especially the opposition leader highlighted sovereignty as the legal and political foundation of global peace. Deputy opposition also came up with something that is very substantiated, that is like clarified what we call the risks of UN bias, veto, misuse at some point, non-compliance. I think there's a point that he used, proposing what we call cooperation-based reforms as an alternative. I could not say everything, that's why I had to skip this point, but it was very important. Now, strategic class also came. Opposition also directly challenged the government's empowerment argument. That's why we were able to be convinced, at least, to give them 56 points. Argued that empowerment may wasn't inequality. In fact, it can even reduce what we call legitimacy. And both speakers were so much clear. They deliver what we call structured arguments. Yeah, especially the opposition leader effectively consolidated the bench's point in his summary. But the weaknesses was like it was a casual link that were underdeveloped at some point when the empowerment collapse, legitimacy, and the likes, trying to argue that there is absolute sovereignty when it was already mentioned that, okay, from the government side, that of course sovereignty cannot be absolute. So what are you going to do with certain crimes that have been committed, especially genocide and the likes within the states and the likes? Okay, so opposition presented what we call a principled and coherent case, but they lack some impact or empirical examples and at some point urgency. Yeah, so the government bench at some point we could see that the prime minister, just to summarize the argument again, the prime minister used what they call case studies, especially Russia-Ukraine war, as real-time variable examples. So in Rwanda also from 1994, maybe showing civilian death, refugee displacement, and Security Council paralysis at some point. What could see it on their article on the surface and discuss impunity if sovereignty is unchecked. That was a very important argument from our summary justification. Now, that was also what we call a direct clash with the opposition. Government reframed sovereignty as insufficient in solving border crisis. Okay, of course. And they were very clear in their argument. They structured a lot of things. Both speakers clearly outlined what we call their points, which I definitely appreciate from the beginning, from all debaters for sure. They understood their roles very well, especially the Prime Minister. As you can see, a roadmap. Therefore, we decided to award them a couple of points, but let me just highlight basic weaknesses that they brought before this house. I'm sorry. Mechanism of governance was somehow vague. That is how the UN enforce, how to enforce UN authority against powers like United States. Yes, the requires, the word requires, burden was asserted, but not it was not fully operationalized. Therefore, we gave them 66 points, making them the champions of this debate. Thank you so much. Now we have the best speaker of tonight's debate, or overall best speaker of the tournament. We have Honorable Maimouna Diop, Prime Minister of the House, and we talk about the most promising debater coming from Madeline Mendy. And thank you so much for giving us the honor to adjudicate this debate. But understand that yes, the losing team made some problems or committed some mistakes that led to this issue at hand. For sure, both teams debated well, and thank you so much for trusting our intellect and our judicial skills. Thank you, and I'm apologizing if we have caused any disruption or delays or in any form. We are absolutely sorry. We are liable to making mistakes and the likes. However, understand that we can make mistakes, but these mistakes would never be deliberate. Any decision we make will be informed by our strength to evaluate what we call arguments. Using world standard format. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Basiru, and our good adjudicators. In a special way, I congratulate both teams, Team Malaysia and India, and most especially Team India for making it a back-to-back and claiming the trophy once again. So on that note, I would like to call on the Vice President of the Association of Gambian Students in India, to kindly give us the closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable SG. Am I quite audible? Am I audible and visible, please? Okay,
Yes, you are.
thank you very much, SG. Before I proceed, I'll just like to thank our able adjudicators. I know it was not easy on your end. All of us were on our feet when we were, announcing the results, which shows that this debate was really a thought-provoking one. But better still, as I proceed, distinguished adjudicators, respected speakers, and engaged audience, as we reach to the conclusion of this debate, I am truly impressed by the depth and breadth of perspective shared today. The Gam-Diaspora is a very vibrant community shaped by heritage, adaptation, and ambition, which has been explored with remarkable insights. From the challenges of navigating cultural identities and the triumphs of innovation and influence, the conversation has been incredibly enriching, to be honest. We have had, compelling arguments, explained complex issues and celebrated dynamic spirit of community that continues to shape our world and our country, the Gambia. The passion and commitment demonstrated by all participants underscore the importance of this dialogue. It's evident that the Gam diaspora is not merely a historical phenomenon, but a dynamic force that will continue to evolve and impact the global narratives. Before I conclude, I would just like to say this to all the debaters, present and not present, anytime you are watching this. These are the kind of conversations we need for our country. I would like to mention some people, like Sajo, Mr. Njai, and Bo. Most of them engage in the debates that occur in the parliament, in the Gambian Parliament, National Assembly. If you watch these debates, you will know that really, to shape a country, to have a better country, we have to have debates because some of us might come from different perspectives, and to make things work, we have to debate each other. Bring out ideas, at the end of the day that will help our country move forward. To be honest, if this set of debaters, like all the countries, if this set of debaters we are to represent us in our parliament, I guess by now we will have a new constitution and everything. We will not be facing what we are facing right now. So, I'm pleading with all of you. Let's continue debating. Let's continue the spirit. It's not a war. It's a conversation, a very important conversation. It's not about even being argumentative or arguing with somebody. It's about presenting ideas that will help us, move our country forward. Basically, please. So, and the other thing I would like to say is, congratulations to India. It wasn't a surprise, to be honest, because, they've worked really hard, especially in the Gambians in India. We have like very different type of debate. We have during our vacations, we have the Gam interstate debate where Gambians in India debate each other. During our events like independence, cultural students, we also have these debates. So it's an opinion to all the other Gambian associations that are out there. Be having debates, organize debates. We want to hear one day. We want to see if where we will be invited to come and watch those debates where Gambians in Malaysia are debating each other, or Gambians in America or Canada as well. This will be very important, and it will help in the subsequent diaspora debates that are going to happen. And yeah, as we are the hosts of this debate, but better still, we want to see many people organizing these debates. And who knows where they will be there one day. It might end from even government of the Gambia organizing these debates for the Gambians in diaspora, where you'll be paying tickets to go to the Gambia, sit in the National Assembly and have this debate competition. Who knows where it will end? This is just the beginning. So, let's keep up the spirit, and I guess if you are not in the Young Championship, they have a group, a debate group where, they'll be debating inside the WhatsApp group and everything. Try to join these things and, let's keep the conversation going. I don't want to keep you guys so long. So in closing, I would just like to commend everyone for their dedication, and, thoroughly contributions in this debate. May this debate serve as a catalyst for further understanding, collaboration, and the continued flourishing of the Gam diaspora. Thank you very much once again, and thank you very much to our partners, the YCT, Mr. Basiru. This was a job well done. Thank you very much. Till another time. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you so much, His Excellency Maud Louise. In a special way, I would also like to thank our guest speaker, Mr. Kemo Conte, for staying with us all through and for staying with us all through to the end of the debate championship. So once again, we extend our sincerest gratitude to our judges, participants, and everyone here present. Once again, it was a moment to learn and unlearn. And finally, those who have claimed the championship have gained victory. So congratulations to both sides once again. Hoping to see you all next year again in a grand style as usual. Till we come your way again, I am Moses Oyen, Secretary General. Have a good night.